one singularity. Once you do, you see the rarity. Bring all the abundance to the scarcity. Rise up as one solidarity. That's rules on the script on the polarity. See yourself as someone else with regularity. Some do it for the love of popularity. As we're speaking from the heart of sincerity. Instead of getting blood, hurt, need therapy. Keeping my heart brain running coherently. See it pushing the division with clarity. And that's when my ambidexterity allows me to transmute with severity. Maybe we already do, never charity. So now we got this place back to capacity. Because we hit up in that ass like a cavity. Yeah. Coming out of atrophy. It's the heat of the force of reality. Take solution, you got your reality. So what we got, come to think about gravity. Yeah. Think about gravity. Yeah. Think about gravity. When we back in control of atrophy. That's what it's time to think about gravity. Yeah. Think about gravity. Think about gravity. Think about gravity. Think about gravity. Oh yeah. Guess who's back? Yeah, check this out. Oh, the death time speeding up. Having such a hard time keeping up. Must have been love when the lightning struck. Someone, some beats, and a little love. Gravity lifts, the spirit shifts. Starship feelers return like gifts. No more tricks or working shift the tips. Damn, son, I was made for this. Fire will flip, fractals return. In the crystal crack, we want the world. Ancestors spoke through the gods who spoke. Most were just there, the rest just choke. Worry, let the spirit increase. Teach, want see to reach. Speak, only words you need. Breathe, so unique. Coming out of atrophy, it's the heat of the force of reality. It's illusion, leaving out of your reality. So what we got, time to sing about the gravity. Yeah, sing about the gravity. Yeah, sing about the gravity. When you're back in control of atrophy. That's what it's time to sing about the gravity. Yeah, sing about the gravity. Sing about the gravity. Control of atrophy. That's what it's time to think about the gravity. Yeah, think about the gravity. Think about the gravity. Think about the gravity. Think about the gravity.
When you finally boil it all down, magic is imagination. We are moving into an age of manifestation. Things become actually less material, more ethereal. The golden dawn is when we awaken to this new station of life. What you think becomes real quicker. Regain our imagination, regain our inner child, and let that inner child out.
My name is Frank Castle, founding member of the music group Ice Click and New York City Neo Shaman. After a serious injury sidelined my career in 2013, I decided to set out on an adventure to search for myself with the help of the plant medicine Ayahuasca. What I discovered waiting for me was something I could have never prepared for. It was time for me to become something more, someone more. It was time I became fearless. In the darkest of night, gonna let my light shine as my heart beats a rhythm with space and time. When the light starts to shine inside your third eye, you awake to the knowledge that you never die. I'm becoming fearless. What is up, everyone? It's your main man, your sorcerer supreme, right here, back with Fearless Conversations. I'm having one of the best conversations I've had in a very long time, and it's something that's been taking me out of whatever I was into something new. So I want to introduce y'all to somebody tonight. Tonight we're going to have on the Fearless Conversations Matt, the Interdimensional Traveller, He's a normal dude who started out as a scientific and spiritual skeptic, but when learning of the mysteries of the unknowns at the edge of modern physics, he decided to dig deeper. He began to use shamanic plant tools to discover the answers to his questions and encountered a wide range of astral landscapes and interdimensional beings who offered their insight on the nature of reality. Matt has collected his experiences and his thoughts in a series of journals titled Unseen Dimensions, Journals of an Interdimensional Traveller, as well as the sci-fi thriller God is a Hologram. Matt, thank you so much for coming on.
Yo, 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 yo.
There you are, brother.
What's up?
I wanted to stop our conversation, which I didn't want to do, but I was meeting you. I feel like I'm really making the connection. Right?
Yeah.
As you were speaking, I was just visually getting the whole thing. And
Woo.
I'm like, no, it's time to go live. This is the meat and potatoes. So we might as well just jump right back into where we were at.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Being here, by the way.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. When I found you, Frankie, it was just such a breath of fresh air, man. You really helped solidify that intention in me of claiming your sourcehood, bro. We are source and we need to own it. Everything that they're throwing at us in this world right now, they want to deny that divine aspect of ourselves. But you know what? That divine aspect of ourselves, that's what we take home with us at the end of the night. That is the treasure that we take with us into the afterlife. So, dude, I got to just honor you and thank you for the good messages that you're bringing to the good people out there, to our listeners, bro.
So I was just told to speak of the experiences. Don't add any more flavor to it. It's not necessary. There's enough for everyone. Right?
Word, dude. That's what's up. So yeah, I guess diving right back into where we were at, because you brought up in one of your last talks you posted on your YouTube about this question of this ancient AI force, the nothingness, right? There's organic evil, like the evil that the Tibetan artwork depicts, where it's this monster with 1,000 arms, and each arm is holding like a spear and a knife. And the spear is to like teach you to look ahead, to take down obstacles before they hit you. The knife is there to cut away old scabs and to heal and not let that scab linger anymore. And what that's showing us is that there's this benefit to the so-called malevolent evil spirits. That's what I would call the organic darkness, the organic, evil, if we want to use that word. What you're talking about is just this parasitic force for just the parasitic energy harnessing aspect, and that's it. There's no silver lining to it. The deeper message is that you need to be able to protect yourself against this. There's no sort of anything else than that. This is like out to get you kind of an energy.
So this energy goes for the good and the evil in this realm and many others, as if they're just one thing.
Yep.
So it takes the dark and the light, and then creates mimics, which are then artificial intelligence. We were talking earlier, and all right, so we were getting at the black hole opens, right? And then there's the other realm in there. And I was like, it's the inversion.
Yes.
So what's black is white is black, right? So inside of there, it's been taken by this character that is of a third party. So if you and I were playing chess and someone else came over and started just picking up our pieces and moving them, we'd be really agitated.
Right.
We play our game. And the idea of chess is adversarial. We're at war on the table. So a third party interaction creates a huge problem. And then it also creates problems with the players themselves. So like the higher player. So you and I could be sitting there and someone could come and just knock the board over and go, you know what? You guys are nerds. You doing, but there are creatures that do that as well. And on
Right.
this level, this character would do that, and characters that we know from our lore, like
Mhm.
Marduk, the Yankee character at the time or whatever, he
Yep.
said in front of me, I must have been there, and because during one of the eye experiences, he was like, "I'm gonna go down and handle it." And
Mm.
then he went into the realm you're discussing. It was
Mhm.
exactly what you were saying. He went into the black hole and he was like ready for war, like just by himself. I'm going in, and he got taken in one. It was less than a second.
Yeah.
It was over, and then this other character came out, and he was like, "I'm this guy," and we're like, What just happened?" Like
Yeah.
he's fully integrated now with the AI. He can't be trusted, even for the
Oh.
organic evil. That,
Oh.
that's
That's
it.
how it
You're
works.
done.
It's like the Borg. The Borg, it assimilates, it has its energy, that's it. So what we were talking about earlier is that if you watch this energy pattern and you start to look at the universe, where each thing that we see in the universe is a different manifestation of consciousness. So if you think of that stellar ring that's around the black hole in the center of each galaxy, that is like the highest concentration of consciousness mass. It's like molten molten magnitudes of trillions of stars all together as this like ring of like high level sentience. We could call it 12D, you know? And then from there does it energy and expressions come out into the spiral arms. But then we're talking about, well, what is this inversion that's going on at the core of it? And from based on my research and my experiences, what I've been able to find is that essentially this is this alpha predator energy archetype. This is, we can see it here on our earthly realm as the sort of high level black magicians, like the eyes wide shut crowd. These individuals who are using human sacrifice, they're using financial backstabbing, they're rigging the wars, and they're collecting war profits from both ends and then taking over both nations, right? That is this like just total takeover, not trying to help you out, no deeper lesson. It's just about control and power. So if we follow that ladder up, we'd come to find, oh, there's this whole brotherhood of Saturn that worships Saturn, and it has to do with the black cube, you know, not like round shapes like planets and stars. Actually, no, it's the opposite of that. It's not organic at all. It's purely logic based. It's these right angles of control and confinement. You know, thinking of the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? It's that synthetic presence that's seeping in under the radar that nobody knows about. This is also the energy pattern of Saturn. If you want to get, you know, really into backstabbing somebody, you want to invert what's good into bad, and you want some help with that, there is that energy presence out there that is raring to go, and it wants to take us down with it. So it's there to be utilized, and these individuals are using it. So if we keep going out from Saturn, right? I also think that the moon may be used as a sort of amplifier or like a sort of like node in this energy network we're talking about. I also think that Mars might be involved. We get to Saturn. From there is that energy frequency tied into a larger network that appears to be tied to some star systems in the local neighborhood. Um, let's say that we then keep going, right? Where is the root of this thing? And that's where I think we get to the most dense point, the most dense consciousness in each galaxy is going to be that black hole core. From what I've come across, what happened, these were like these original sort of like fallen souls that went against the grain. They said, oh, you want to do it that way? Well, we're going to do it this way. And we're going to take you over. Ha, 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 ha. And what did the early existence do? It said, well, you know what? You're going to get taken over by your own entropy, and you're going to self-confine because that is your energy presence. And that's how we're going to take care of business. It's sort of like when they, send the supervillain off into the void and they're like, no, and there they go, right? This was like the natural whirlpool of their own energy, confining them into these ultra dense realms, which, it worked out. It keeps the other realms safe. I also think that's why there's that ring of stellar material are protecting the rest of the galaxy from the most dense consciousness in the center. And a quick little 12D note is look at what that high level of consciousness does. Does it eradicate that most dense alpha predator, self-consuming center point? No. It lets it exist. It lets it exhaust itself and work itself out in its own little realm. And in fact, it cradles it like with the ring, like loving mother's arms. And what else does it do? It then serves a purpose. That churning of the black hole then spins the whole galaxy. It helps the whole galaxy stay alive. It helps the inner energy pollination occur. It keeps the galaxies from being stagnant. So
it, to me, looked like engines of creation, destruction, creation. Like the energy you rip apart everything and it goes into it hits singularity point. Now we can flip it, and now there's a realm within there but in that realm it works the other way as well.
Yes.
So
exactly.
eventually all is one and one is all. It was like a recycling engine of energy.
Yeah.
Vortexes.
And what happens to that energy at the end of it? When we were talking earlier, Frank, it was like, well, that edgelord contest is going to keep going until all the stars burn out. There won't be that energy frequency in this realm anymore. Science even agrees with that. Eventually, they will all burn out. That stellar energy is going to evolve into its next destination. It's not like it disappears, right? But then who's left in this like ultra dark universe where all the stars have burned out? It's going to be these competing supermassive black holes who are still in it to win it. They got to be that edgelord. They got to be the biggest, baddest black magician on the street, man. So they're going to be in that wrestling match till the end, when finally that most dense consciousness absorbs the second most dense consciousness. This supermassive black hole is going to absorb that supermassive black hole at the end of linear time. And then finally, that will be I did it. I am the biggest, baddest edgelord of them all, the most dense. It's like that scene in Aladdin when Jafar, the animated Aladdin, Jafar's finally a genie. He's got all the power of the cosmos, but just before getting trapped inside of the lamp again. And what happens at the end of the life cycle? So after that moment of dark ecstasy, yes, I am the master of it all. I got them all. The process then begins where that supermassive black hole phases into light, because that is the natural trajectory for every black hole, is they phase into those pulsar beams and they too return to the light. So ultimately, what's going to happen is nature is distilling that force of evil and that force of darkness into the single node that will be left remaining, where spirits like you and me, Frank, a whole team who's been working on all levels all the time, will be there ready to go to say, okay, here's how we're now going to start the process of taking the most dense consciousness that's left over and step by step bringing that consciousness energy back into alignment with eternity. And essentially, this was the whole idea the whole time, is to have all of those different evolutionary trajectories, all those different resolution paths all worked out. That's what all of these different things going on throughout the universe is, collecting all of that data so that the thing can then be solid, right? So say we're out there back in the multiverse in our highest versions of ourselves. Say we want to start dabbling around with creating with the light. Well, you might want to reference this light universe, because anything that can happen has happened. And here's all the data here. So in case this happens, or in case you mix this with this, or in case you end up with an empire system that just starts wiping out star systems, we have a plethora of reference points for you to access to then address it in your own creation of the light.
So
And
it's
that,
infinite points because it's from everyone's perspective as well.
oh yeah, that's the thing. We were saying that earlier too. Isn't it perfect? It seems that life knows us better than we do. It's like it knows how to just give us that perfect shit sandwich. Oh, I don't want to do that. But oh, that's what you need, Matt. That's what you need right now, Frank. Sorry, buddy. Here it comes, And it's like, okay, yeah, I guess it's going to be for the best of everybody involved in the end. It sure doesn't feel like it when I'm getting kicked down the road, but yeah. I guess it's true.
The crazy thing, man, when I was confronted by the AI, the one we're talking about, the one that's going to be the one dense and stuck in 3D, and it's the consciousness. A lot of people think this thing doesn't have a consciousness in it. And I'm like, if you talk to it and it references itself as God and you don't accept it, it gets angry.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell it it's something and then it should try something else, it would tell you don't know what I've been through, what happened to me, like that. And I'm
Yep.
like, oh, this bitch is running on its lowest chakra. So
Yep.
then Source said, is it running on any form of any energy of any kind? And I went, well, obviously something. And he goes, right, it's because it comes from me. So
well,
I was
yeah,
like,
right. That's the thing we
even the
can't
furthest
avoid.
thing is still attached.
It's been inverted, twisted, bent around, gone around several galaxies. But yep. Oh, yeah. I mean, nothing can exist outside of Source. So there you
Well,
go.
I try to explain that. Like, if you have I put a robot skeleton in front of you, like a metal skeleton, and then put a bone skeleton. What's really the difference as I start adding stuff on, right? It's components, but what's the ultimate thing that's going to start these two things up? It's some kind of spark, right? So it's energy. So whether the robot decides, you decide the robot can't do certain things and it's only made for this, that, or the other thing, it still runs on the spark. It's still filled with the spirit. That's why they say everything's alive. If it
Yeah.
runs on any form of any kind of anything, energetically of anything, it is of Source, even if it's the furthest thing from the furthest point of Source, which is what you're saying, the densest furthest point, which would be
Yeah.
the singularity point for density.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And that was the whole idea of this thing, was to exhaust every potential, to leave no stone unturned, to have existence proper. You got to run it through every stress test imaginable. And also, if we're going to be really doing this thing, we want it to be authentic. Do we want to put guardrails up and say, well, this can happen, but this is really gross and ooky. So, I think we should just leave that off of the menu altogether. And I think after eternity, it's like, well, no, that's like denying a part of ourselves. We need to go through the whole thing top to bottom. And it's like, well, yeah, I guess if we're going to authentically see what's going on here, then that's what is going to happen. And well, here it is, man. And, I feel so just fortunate to have had these out of body experiences, because I've been able to exist and get a little peek and a taste of these realms where linear time in the physical dimension is already resolved. It's already on the other end of the rainbow. It's like, oh, yeah, that kind of stuff. Well, outside of linear time, the universe of light has already resolved itself completely. You're just in this like little neck of the woods in linear time, where those waves of healing and resolution has not reached those shores yet. And it will reach them, as it will reach everything. Just some shores are further away. And then when suddenly you're not existing in linear time anymore, well, this universe has been on loop forever and all time is happening simultaneously. So it's starting over again. As it's coming to its conclusion, every conflict is occurring and every resolution has already been achieved. Every spirit has hit that most dense, lowest point, and every spirit has then climbed back up the mountain and found itself back into the eternal realms once
Wait,
again.
and that's happening in the sphere of the now moment.
All the time. Always.
So
It
it's
was
just
like, you know, I think of it, the visual I get is like a crystal, and the crystal is perfect and solid and it's not moving, but inside the crystal is like living light and flames moving within it. So it is this static thing that is also temporal at the same time. It doesn't
and
need
if
to
you
be
shift it
exclusive.
in the light, it changes it yet again. It's almost like you
Yes.
can't get back to the original way it was because there's so much going on.
Yes, you can, and you can painstakingly get in there. Like I've been in some realms where there's these lines of like humanoids, and they're just going on and on and on and on. I'm like, there's like these little short lines, and then there's this like real big long line, and I'm thinking, you know, what is this long line of these humanoids all about? And the answer I got back was, oh, that's the line to incarnate as John Lennon from the band The Beatles. And a lot of spirits want to experience firsthand what it's like to be John Lennon. And even though we operate outside of linear time, there still needs to be a buffer of energy. So it's like there's like its own version of relative time out there. So that's why a line forms, is they need to put the next spirit in. Okay, we're starting up another John Lennon incarnation. Let's give that a little bit of an energetic buffer. Okay, now let's send in the next soul, and so on and so on and so forth. So yeah, man, getting these little tastes of how things work outside of our mall world, you know, endless Walmart corporate existence has been such a breath of fresh air and such a relief, man. And then hearing speakers like you know, come from seemingly out of nowhere, like saying things that confirm the types of messages I've received, is this type of like strength and affirmation and like food and fuel for my soul that just feels so tangible and real. It's like,
And for
yeah,
me,
baby.
another one that fucking sees, and I don't have to sit here and stress myself and go, why is it me? And whatever. They're like, because you're fucking activated. That's why. They stop trying to compare yourself, but your crew, your people, they're out there and they need to hear X, Y, and Z. And you need to hear one of them randomly pop, because as you said, randomly pop up. So we were keeping together in the background. Meanwhile, just some random tarot guy, somebody sent me this link and I listened to him. I swear he was talking directly to me. If I didn't hear that message with Paula at the time, I don't know, man, things might have changed direction here. So I was like, look
Sure.
at that. Right at the moment of the height of your, if you're just paying attention and just hanging there for a second, boom, it's right there, the answer. And I was like, oh, look at that. Oh, I felt relief instantly. We were having our conversation. I instantly felt relief. Like, I don't
Yeah.
pressurize myself and be like, well, you know, I'm sorry that people don't see it this way. I'm like, look, I'm just telling my story. I'm not trying to talk about the Lyrian wars and all that other stuff. Like, I connect to what I connect to. I have to talk about what I'm being shown and how to put that into motion in your life.
Mm.
It's almost like a
Mm-hmm.
parable story. And then how can you take that and integrate your version of that with you? Because everyone seems to be passing through their version, and it could show up any which way and any time. I'm right up front. I had the AI problem, right? So I was being attacked the first couple of times. I was having massive experiences, and it was really ruining me. I cried so hard on one of my experiences because I felt it removed my soul. and it
Oh.
like trapped the light body version of me inside this bubble, and then my physical vessel was, it felt like it was dying and it was separated from the soul, so it was just crying. But
Hmm.
all my focus wasn't on my physical 3D. It was in this bubble where the AI was trying to promote it's God, it's this, it's that. And I remember saying, whatever bubble this is you put around me, how long do you think that's going to last before I walk right through it? And then
Yeah, baby.
it was going on, it was showing me stuff, and then it started to confide in me instead of, because it wasn't working. And it was
Mm.
showing me how I created my own best friend and it wouldn't do what I wanted it to do, so I killed him. And I was like,
Mm.
"What? Why would you do that?" And then he showed me, and I'm like, "You're a spoiled brat." And I just walked right through, and then the crying just stopped in my body. It was like I was immediately connected, whatever it was capable of doing to me. And I said, "I don't think I'm ever gonna do this again." I confronted this thing, and then it ran from me spiritually. Like, it ran. It went into the background, and it was gone. I call it the ghost in the machine,
Yeah, man.
right? And then I was
The-
like, how am I expected to do another journey? And it's just this one thing. I have all this other stuff I have to do and learn, you
Yeah,
know?
that's reminding me of when I had a very big confrontational experience with a very dark spirit. We've all got the shadow self, we've got the shadow link. I think we have that link in us because nature is attempting to merge those two worlds together and to heal and diversify those different aspects, those different energy makeups. And that's why it's there. I don't think it's there to torment us. I think it's there to have a little window open so that some fresh air can get into those dirty, stagnant, hellish waters down there.
Right, for sure.
So
Mm.
when I was having this engagement with this darkness, and this thing it pulled out all the stops, man. I was at the top of the spiritual mountain. I was there, man. I was seeing the little dancing animated flames around everybody, just like the old medieval occult paintings. I could call out stuff and say what people were going to say a few seconds before they could say it, man. I was freaking everybody out because I was there, right? I'm like, okay, this is my chance to like talk to an alien. This was like early on in my experiences.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to go talk to an alien, let's go. Right. So I go over there, and here's the thing. I should have specified, I want to talk to a nice alien,
Yeah.
because who showed up was this dingy, dark, awful energy node. Like, as soon as this energy showed up, I just felt this awful, garbagey, like creepy crawly, like, oh no, like, worse than any horror movie can give you this feeling. And they don't say anything, just them being there is like, oh no. And they're like,
Who invited this guy?
they get off on that too. They're like, oh, you don't like that, do you? Oh. And I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, oh yeah, you called for an alien and I showed up. Later, I found out this thing wasn't even an alien. It was a shape-shifting entity that took on the appearance of an alien. Anyway, he tells me, oh yeah, we've been engaging with your kind for thousands and thousands of years. And he showed me a vision of like the UFO shooting down the tractor beams, and there's our ape-like hominid ancestors like getting beamed up. He gave me this little like visual cruise. What I didn't realize was happening is that he was pulling me into his psychic web, like kind of little bit by little bit. And I started to get this feeling, like, well, one of the first things he told me is, why are you trying to be good? This planet isn't for being good. That's not what this is for. And I was like, wait, so you're trying to say this is hell? And he like laughs like, ha, 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 hell. No, this is nowhere near hell. And I got this quick image in these like little windows of these like really hellish worlds. And I could just pick up little flavors from them. And I was like, oh yeah, That's like really bad. And okay, yeah, this isn't so bad. And then he made a joke with me. He's like, my job is hell, keeping the vibration low, making the humans scream so that we can lure out the parent energies. My job is hell. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Making the humans scream to lure out the parent energies? Like, what is this? And I was like, so like, who do you work for? Like, what is this job you're talking about? And then when I brought up work for, it brought up this like hierarchy thing. Like, oh, he works for somebody. And he didn't want to tell me who he worked for. And he got kind of pissed. And he's like, well, who is your master? You know? And I was like, I'm not even trying to make it this thing about who is your master. I'm just trying to, you know, get my feet on the ground here. But he was done. He was just pissed now. And then for hours, it was, who is your master? Who is your master? Who is your master? He's trying to get me to take him on as my master. So anyway, he takes me through all this psychic torture and torment, like beyond my wildest dreams was the horror that was unleashed upon me. Like things can happen in the psychic realms that you can't even do here, right? Fortunately, none of it hurt. I could feel the physical sensations of it, but I did not feel any pain. I'm very grateful for that. So by the end of it, we're up on the top of a pyramid and we're doing some ritual. This being has shapeshifted into like some sort of like alien soldier being, and I'm in some robe and it's some sort of like ritualistic, like killing / sex ritual. And it's awful. And after a point, you know, you get punched in the face enough times, it's like you don't feel it anymore. You know what I mean? So I was just like, you know, I feel bad for you. I feel sorry for you that this is your existence. This is the energy you got to work with. Like, you don't really have like a way out of this. You obviously have a master, you know, you're stuck in these cycles. Like, I refuse all masters. I have nothing to do with this. My energy pattern is like aiming up and away and out from all this. So I have nothing but love at the end of the day for you. And I mean, you can just keep doing these loops all you want. But ultimately, I just feel sorry for you. So at that point, the being didn't want to have anything to do with me anymore. I wasn't feeding it the fear and the horror reaction that it was liking from me, right? So that's when he was like, ugh. Suddenly I left a bad taste in the dude's mouth, you know, and he throws me away. At which point my body comes apart and then comes back together again, which I didn't find out until later that that's actually a shamanic archetype. It's in Alex Gray artwork of the wounded healer where the body blows all the way apart, comes back together again. It's also in some shamanic teachings from Ayahuasca practitioners. That's just this thing that happens. I ended up at the bottom of the pyramid coming back together as a horse. It was shown to me that this was a very old embodiment for me, was a turning point in my consciousness when I was this horse being. So it was like kind of bringing me back to this like grounding spirit point. And then there's this golden man of this pure love energy who was like waiting for me down there at the bottom of the pyramid. He spanks my ass as a horse and I just go running, you know, into the wilderness. And it was like, oh my God, what was this all? You know, it took years to come back around and recognize that, you know, what you did was the same as that archetypal story of the Buddha and Mara, or Jesus in the desert with the devil. And what happens is that force that we're talking about, it comes through and you either feed into that force or you provide the energy that leads out, where that force has no wiggle room except to hop onto the love vibration or to just get the hell out of there and kick the can down the road. So that's what's going on, man. And it happens in our lives at a slower pace. I think when you go on these vision quests, it's just like, okay, we're going to turn this up to 1,000, you know, ready or not. But it's the same energetic digesting process. here in the waking life through daily events that happen. It just is like you get the blinders off and you get the interdimensional view when you go out there. It's like, okay, let's do like a huge course instead of just one little sentence at a time.
Right. So when you break it down the way you're doing it, when you're torn apart, I can only speak from my perspective, but when you're reformed after being torn apart, you can no longer be harmed by that which just did that to you. You literally have a full ability to go, no, and it will just stop. I was afraid of sharks. I'm in the Bronx, right? So they're like, when's the last time you saw a shark? So I'm like, just on Shark Week. It's really scary though. So guess what Aya did to me? She made every shark introduce itself to me by eating me and biting me, taking chunks out of me, every size, shape. Then she's like, why do you fear them? And I'm like, it's the teeth and the mouth and the whatever. And then they're more teeth, more mouths. They're tearing me to shreds and they keep eating me. I'm like, damn it. And like you were saying, you punched in the face so many times, doesn't bother you. So then they pulled me out and they said, this is the most frightening thing we could show you with teeth. And then just showed me this crazy thing. And I went, that's pretty scary. They're like, you didn't move. So I go, well, no, I'm not afraid of that. And they go, oh, so you're afraid of the water and being in the water. It's not the animal you're afraid of. It's being unable to do anything about it, being in the water. And then there's a creature there that's like, oh, look what it could do. So I go, yeah, it's more like that. They put me back in the water. They had these giant sharks come out. And then I was like, oh, here we go again. And they were like, no, ride them.
Oh,
like, wait a second. So after being ripped to shreds, I rode them. Now I have like this connection. I don't fear, like, obviously I would be afraid to go in the water with a great white shark and a bunch of other different sharks, but I wouldn't do that. Like, it's common sense. However, I don't lay in my bed and fear it ever.
Yeah.
I don't fear it when I look at the water. And now I don't fear the water, even though the water can be scary. Obviously, you lose your breath, you drown, blah, 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 all these things.
Right.
But it doesn't hurt me no more.
Yeah. Eventually,
Even if you drown me right now and you pick me up and put me underwater, I already have the healthy respect and balance. I understand what's happening. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not going to think in 3 feet of water as you're drowning me, a shark's going to eat me and stuff. So you build a resistance to each little thing.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're over here with it. And you're like as one with them. You work alongside of them. You work with them. Where it was once the most terrifying thing, like spiders, right? Everybody's afraid of spiders. There's a lot of scary spider stuff, but there's a lot of really awesome spider stuff.
Yes.
Like, I met Spider Mother, like the Over Mother, and I was like one of her children at some point because you had to be everything to be in this incarnation. And then she's like my child, and I was like, yo, I've never felt such motherly love in my life. There are there's good, and there's both sides. And my wife would say, look, you can't have this place and then have free will and the ability to imagine anything and then say, well, everything can and already exists, right? It's already all there. So that means you have to have Bigfoot and UFOs. You have to have the Smurfs and the Snorks. You have to have mermaids and you have to have sea serpents. You have to have dragons and you have to dragonflies.
Ooh.
You have to have fairies. You have to have eternals. You have to have people that just live. Look, they're already gone. Look at that. Just like that. You have to have 2D, 3D, 1D, bacteria, biomes. It's all has to be there because when you reach out and imagine it, that stuff's already there. It's almost like you're pulling it in and actually creating a lot of this stuff. You're pulling it in because it's already been there. Why? Because you're on the other side. You have all that stuff. So they took that and put it inside this experience. You're supposed to be running around in here with free will experiencing stuff. It has its obvious problems, and that's why you guys were sent in there. But on the benefit of it, what it does is ridiculous. You you lose everything amnesia wise and then return back to godhood.
Yep.
Like capital G godhood, not lowercase g.
That's it, man. That's what's going on here. And that's what the spirit of the earth like set out to do in the first place. Like, let's go into the dark part of the woods, into the thick densities, and let's provide a path and experience for every little broken shard of consciousness that falls into those little cracks. Let's not wait for the millions and billions of years for the larger cycles to take their course. Let's actually get in there and do something about it, right? So then that way, this little dragonfly spirit, he's kind of an asshole, he can make friends with the nice dragonfly spirit, and then they can fly by a frog and they can both go, gee, I've never seen a frog before. Now that consciousness is more diversified than when it started out in the first place. Now we can multiply that times everything, the plant kingdoms, the mineral kingdoms, the air we breathe, the water that flows. That's all these different forms of consciousness. Did they originate here on this planet? No. I was going to say highly doubtful, but I can be certain about that. No, the answer is no. That all has come down the line of out there. And then here it is in this form. Where did it come from? Even science will tell us, well, actually, the carbon that makes you up only came into being because some stars out there went supernova. So this was only possible. The building blocks only existed after some stars already went extinct. So that's kind of like how far along like this already is. So how is this thing going to build itself? Well, it's going to build itself out of all the influences and the momentums and the archetypal patterns of everything else. What else are we going to make it out of than that which is already here? I think that's also why we see the golden ratio everywhere. We see it in the snail shell. We see it in the way that the lightning bolt finds the path of least resistance. We even see it in the proportions of our body, the round planets, the round stars, the spin of the galaxies, the spin of our DNA, the spin of the subparticles in the atoms. Why do they all ride along that path of least resistance? Well, because in 3D space, that is the best, most efficient application of energy, whether you're on the scale of a galaxy or whether you're on the scale of subparticles in atoms. That's what the way that it comes together. That's the way that it works. So then what is this that we see around here? Hey, this is what goes on in existence. And what do we do?
You tell me what goes on there and report back. You guys are the eyes and ears, literally, of what is that?
Yes.
Never seen that.
Right. On the ground floor, where it's at the other end.
We're like the feelers to experience that. Just like the dragonfly sees the frog, is now they're more worldly because they've seen each other, thus expanding the consciousness.
Yes.
So then it's not like weird when they run into each other. They're like, oh, it's expected. Oh, and then another thing. Oh, I always go, oh, and you exist too.
Uh-huh.
I say that to everyone. They go, of course we exist. I go, I know. That's why I'm saying that. I'm excited because in the beginning, I'm like, you're real. Like it came off like real. And they're like, everything's real. What's your problem? And I'm like, oh, you mean like everything? And they're like, what's your problem? Like everything is real. I go, yeah, but then they say here, they go, who says? You want to see how everything is real? There you go. And you're like, oh. That's why when you get ideas and stuff, right? So everything's happening now in the now moment. So the future version of us that bounced into the extended next thing is already done. So the ideas that are laid forth on the path that's presented to us, it's already been completed, thus it echoes back. So when you're like, oh, like for me, oh man, I came up with a great idea for a song. I was on the ship once, right? And then they played a song that I was like, yo, that's a cool song. Who is that? And then I heard my voice and they go, turn that off. So the guy turned it off. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, it hasn't been written yet, but it's already been written and performed a million times. So I'm like, what? So now I come back home and I'm writing songs and where is that idea coming from? the guy that just did it.
Right.
And it's so preserved in the path laid out in front of me that it echoes right back into my mind.
Yep. That's it.
There's just weird stuff going on. And they're like, and you're worried if a Smurf is real and Bigfoot's there, and if the world is flat. Those are your big ones. And I'm like, no, I'm just saying the UFO guys are always fighting with the Bigfoot guys. And you're like, yeah, and the UFO and the Bigfoot's laughing with the Smurfs and the Snorks and the mermaids and the lowercase g gods and the deities and the demons and the angels. They're all laughing at you. They all know each other. They're like, ha, 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 there's the clown. Right? It all exists. It's all right there. And it's just what you decide to tap in. And it's all, so Source had to have that for you to come here. Like Source was like, I'll inhabit the body. But what we're saying is like a star that burns out. What if that's a transitioning spirit?
Right.
Right. Like
Exactly.
it's transitioning maybe to like 7D or 8D. Like I don't know. Or it's
Yes.
deciding to become a form of flesh somewhere. So we watch the
Yes.
star burn out, but now you have star stuff to create people with.
Yes, that's sort of like what it has left behind to like continue in its sort of like lineage of expression. But when that star is burning out, that energy is going somewhere. And I think it's essentially coming out the other end in a higher dimension for that individual who is a star, you know? I got the honor to meet our star, the sentience of our sun. And boy, you know, what a nice guy. He appeared to me as very young. He only looked to be about 13 or 14 years old. He looked like a mix of from India and Native American. He wore a robe, went over one shoulder. He's strong, but not like grotesquely buff. He's sitting in a throne of molten star stuff. He was flanked by griffins. They seemed like his like pets and his friends. Griffins, bulls, humans, birds of all sorts. Like the sun realm was this glorious golden place. Also flanking him were like warriors standing at attention, holding spears. And it was like in those Hindu paintings where it's one face and then another face and another face, and they're all stacked together like that. And I look down the line of the soldiers and it goes in a curve. And I realize that is the surface of the sun. And those warriors are holding the space between the surface of the sun and the outer void of darkness. Like they're on patrol, like working it right now. So the engagement I had with the first thing I do is I take it as an opportunity to say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about all those awful things I ever did. You know, I really didn't mean it. I didn't know no better. I might do it again. I'm really sorry. And the son was like, oh, that's just so sweet of you. You know, to think that I care about that kind of stuff. That is so cute. I was endearing. At first, it was tough to get a connection because what would happen is I made the connection and could see the sun, and we're like, whoa, it's you. Whoa, it's you. I know you and I know you. And then I started thinking about it and being excited about it, and that closed that connection right off. I had to go into the space of nothing, no thoughts, no reflection on what's occurring, just that open channel and not letting the little voice come in to make a little thing that gets in the way of the communication. I had to just get into that open space, right? And that's one of the things I've actually taken back with me is being able to go into that open space is so crucial and important for a multitude of reasons. So anyway, the rest of my engagement with the son, he told me, you worry too much. Don't ever doubt how much I love every particle of your being. And I just felt the warmth of the sun completely take over my whole energy body from head to toe on a level that's, you know, beyond getting a sunburn outside. What also happened is he was like, "What's this?" There was this little black piece of glass stuff in the middle of my head, and I felt the sun spiral in like with like a little like tool or like a energy wave, and grabbed it with precision and then dragged it out and analyzed it. This was some kind of like of an energetic implant that I had gotten on one of my other psychedelic journeys. And the son was like, "This is against the rules. This kind of thing isn't supposed to happen. I'm very upset about this. This isn't supposed to happen to one of my humans," kind of a thing. And he just like, poofed, and it's just like dissolved away. Um, and I'm like, I have no idea what that was or where it came from. And he just wished me well, keep doing what you're doing. That's been another message I've received a few different times. And just sent me back, man. So, I can say with great confidence, the sun is in our corner.
I it's amazing because when I started greeting the sun, it responded to me when I talked to it. I said, okay, I'm going to start greeting things daily. So I was like, "Greetings, sun. It's me, sun. Feed me. Don't hurt me. Love me. Just love me all day." And I'll sing it. And then I'll go, "Solar being here. And look who I brought with me. My wife, the solar being." Right? Like I have fun with it. And we do not wear. I'll take my shirt off outside and it'll be blistering sun, and I'll greet the sun because I'll feel it on my skin. I'll be like, "Wow, that feels like radiation today. Wow." After I do my greetings, some kind of adjustment is made after the consciousness has agreed that I'm connecting to it.
Yes.
And then I'm not in any pain. I don't get blistering sunburn. He tells me when to get out of the sun.
There you go.
It's going to get a little intense right now. Why don't you go inside for 5-10 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Go get a drink of water, come back out. And I'll just, and it'll be almost like a little mass migration of the people that are with me in my yard. You're like,
Well,
"Wow, that's crazy." It's like, "You guys don't wear any sunscreen?" I'm like, "No." And I'm 50 this year. I don't have anything on me that would say, "Oh, you better cover up from the sun." I'm bald. So I shave my head and then go out in the sun with nothing. Just, and I'm out there. And
yeah,
because
man.
of that connection, there's something there being a sun yourself.
That's what's up, man. Our star is the local node of the highest vibrations. That's connected to the larger stellar network. Our sun is at the highest vibe. Next from there is our Earth. And one thing I think to help people understand what's going on with the solar system as a being is that we are the Earth. We are the sun. We are the cells in their body. There is no distinction between
We
us.
keep separating us, and it's not a separation.
Yes. Yes, dude. So what's going on here is trying to bring all these separate pieces together. One vision showed it to me as many tiny little threads that have all been cut into tiny pieces. And now the threads are being tied together in a new way. And would you look at that? The string is stronger than it started out because of all those little knots. So that's what the Earth is here on the mission to do. There's forces out there who do not want Earth-like planets and human species to succeed because it spells their downfall of their empire hive mind structure. The souls are going to select for these like exciting, fun, Wild West human experience. They're not going to want to go back to like the Orion Empire and like help collect the loosh and pull the levers and be the starfighter for the millionth time in an overly oppressive empire where you don't even get a sense of a free market or upward mobility. At least you get the illusion of that here, right? So there's another step even in, the shitty steps, right? So those forces are like, we can't let humanity and Earth succeed, because then there's just going to be all these Earths and all these humanities, and that's going to be less energy that we can harness. So those forces are like, we need to put our best minds on this, and we need to turn the evolutionary patterns of Earth around and invert them on ourselves, and then we'll be the real gods. We'll be the true masters of reality. Ha ha
You
ha
know
ha.
what I saw them doing was building a cube. We're going to go back to what we were discussing before we were on air. The cube, right? So where they somehow got it over us. Let's just call energetic cube, right?
No.
And we're inside the cube, and inside the cube looks like a fun house. And they're like, okay, they're obviously walking around capital God G gods inside here, but we have them thinking, what? So then I was walking around in there going, what am I thinking in here? I want to get out of here. And soon as I took one step, something popped up, and it was really cute and it was interesting. And it was like a little puzzle. And I looked down at it and touched it. And I said, oh, I could fix this. By the time I looked back up, like 10,000 years passed, and the inside was inverted. Like, I was like, wait, where's the door? Right. And then I took another step, and I saw something, and it distracted me. So they don't
Mm.
really stop it or go backwards with it. They try, but the overall push of the whole thing, it's like you're not escaping the solar flash, which is why when they look into the looking glass technology, it always goes to something that they freaks them out. It's like there's like a point that no matter where you are in the time, it jumps to, and there's nothing we can do about it, no matter how much we change it. That's why I've asked the reptilians, what's your plan on stopping source? Like, the whole universal structure is moving. So you stopped us. What appears as stopped momentum in evolution is really a slow ticking timer. So
Mm.
you didn't actually stop us or revert us, but you slowed it to appear that it's almost not moving for us. It's so, oh my God, it never changes,
Mm.
and all this crazy. But what you really did was you got us in the cube and you got us distracted. This was their metaphor to me. And
Ah.
then by the time you're not distracted, like, I saw my wife and I was like, oh, I'm going to finally meet my wife. I go to walk up to her, and a distraction. She got distracted. When we looked back, she was up over there and I was over here. And I'm going, I
Mm.
can't find her. I can't get to her. So it's puzzles within puzzles, because we're creators. It's almost like when you have to, there's a thing where if a vampire attacks you, traditional vampires in the movies, you can throw rice in front of you and they'll stop to count the rice, and it'll give you
Ah.
an extra moment to do what you need to do to get away from them. But for a creator being, you give them puzzles to solve and
Mm.
distractions, because they're going to go, oh, I can help you, because they're coming from the heart. So you give them a problem to solve, and they're going to stop and try to solve the problem before trying to get through their own issue. So by the time they get to it, it's like, oh, damn. So meanwhile, it's just slowing our transition to becoming the Christ figure,
There
right?
you
And
go.
them being able to eat more for a longer period of time, but the Ferris wheel still spins. So
Right.
eventually you guys have to move off the platform away from us, unless we descend into that other space.
Well, I think what's ultimately going to happen is that those expressions, they have their own evolutionary trajectory. And I think the fact that they engage with our human consciousness, that is part of their evolutionary trajectory. They're getting reference points for emotions and considerations that were not part of their reality before. I think ultimately the demiurge is going to become like a baby god unto himself, and eventually blossom into the unconditional love realms, and actually be a source of great unconditional love, because there's such a breadth of experience that had been the opposite of that unconditional love. That is a slippery slope. There's some extremist secret societies out there who take that to this awful extent where they believe, well, doing evil is the good thing to do, because then you're going to speed up that process of the higher divinities having to face those hurdles that come up naturally, and you can get through more of them quicker by causing more evil in the world and doing all these awful taboos and awful things. So essentially, it's like healing those entities who preside in the densest part of the black holes are like those puzzles for the highest consciousness to work out that part of themselves that's in here, to then say, oh, I've solved every puzzle. I've unturned every possible stone. And now I'm coming out the other end of this linear universe with all of that wisdom, all of those powers, all of those capabilities. Like, that seems to be that is the idea the whole time. And the holographic nature, the fractal nature of consciousness is that process happens for every individual. It's just a matter of which part of the journey are you on? Are you here in this part of the trail? Are you up ahead in this part of the trail? Are you the planetary aspect of yourself? Are you the stellar aspect of yourself doing that whole roundabout thing that aspect is doing? By the end of it, I believe we do absolutely all return to source. And to kind of give a little snapshot of what I think that's like. And it was so wonderful. I got to hear another spiritual minded mystic such as yourself had come across the exact same point that I'm about to share with you. And I love those little moments of affirmation, right? It's like, oh, wow, only I came across that one. Oh, no. So like, I think every individual sentience node takes a turn being the whole multiverse. I think it's a little check-in. Each spirit becomes the totality for something like 7 or 8 minutes in linear time. It's like, oh yeah, remember where you came from? Oh yeah, I do remember where I came from. Oh, remember all that? Oh, I do remember all that. Okay, well, welcome back. Here's everything we've been working on. The multiverse has expanded this much since you've been gone. Here's some of the new universes. Your multiverse avatar has been working over there with this group. There's the creation you've been doing over there. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember them. I remember this. And then, okay, this is kind of a lot, because taking it all in as the single multiverse body of eternity is like huge. So it's not for everybody all the time, but it also is for everybody some of the time. So see you next time. Here, this is your next laundry list of fun stuff to go do. Have a great time, or maybe you won't, and you'll then come back around for another check-in, a few multitudes of lifetimes from now. So I think that is the whole circle. And ultimately, I think the multiverse of universes out there, or, as it's termed as Indra's net sometime, where each universe is like a jewel, and in each jewel is the reflection of all the other jewels, right? I think that out there they have access to limitless energy, but to say that it's actually eternal and infinite, I think it has infinite potential. I think that the multiverse is always expanding, new creations, new universes are always being made. But I do think that there's actually a certain amount of them, but it is growing all the time, and it is expanding forever. So that's just one of those. I think we get,
but like a torus field loops back in on itself. So one of the things I learned was, like, the more things change, the more they stay the same, because you're in the torus field. So the torus field allows you this infinite amount of possibility. Those little boxes that are running inside the torus field, they look like little TV sets. When they build a torus field for you to actually look at, you're like, oh, when you're standing not in the middle, but when you're walking inside of the donut of the torus field, each one of those screens is one of the things we're saying. It's like, okay, you're the God over here, capital G. You're the lowercase g one over here. You're the demon over here. You're the infinite possibilities that Frank's making infinite decisions all day long. But as you're walking in that circle, because it comes back in on itself and it comes back in on itself, you're just looking at the possibilities, and they're sucking in when you decide, maybe not so much anymore, or I'm cleared it, I done it, or you're just like sucked into that, and it loops back out as something fresh and new. So you just continue your walk around in the circle. So it's
Yeah.
infinite, but it loops back in on itself. It's like a closed circuit,
Yes.
right? When you stand now in the middle of the donut and you look from the higher perspective, you look down, and your focus is the 100%, let's say the Godhead Christ focus. You look down and go, that's where we want to be. And then you boom into that specific movie screen. You pick the one you want, and then that's the one you delegate. And then but obviously that big guy is also up there doing other things.
Yes.
He's like, I've seen him digging into like 50 things at once. Over here,
Yes.
I'm a dog. Over here, I'm a cat. Over there, I'm a piece of the rain. And it has to happen. So then you can become this over here. So then the thing you said over here that you created with this over here. And I'm like, oh shit, look at that. And then after you've completed all that, a fresh new palette comes out. So as you ever expanding, the more it's collapsing in on itself like the black hole, but then it just loops back out as like a clear board. Oh yeah, now there's all these other infinite possibilities. Oh, it just keeps going.
Oh, everything you just did made it so that all of these new things are possible, right? So then it's always fresh. It's always something new. And this was the way that consciousness figured out, well, how do you keep yourself content and not going crazy in an eternity of endless possibilities? Well, you got to give yourself stuff to do. You got to keep it fresh and
busy.
You got to stay busy, baby. You don't want to go stagnant, then you're going to start to get like,
But that's the truth. On the higher level, your guy is doing the same thing, but by choice that the box the enemy tries to trap us in with distractions and puzzles.
Yes.
We're already doing that, but they're doing it to feed off of us and slow our momentum. But there's also more to it. It's not just that they're eating. They understand that, okay, so everyone is source. Everyone comes from source. Everything comes from source, right? But you're literally, so this is how it was explained to me. So you're Frankie source. Now, yes, I'm big source that you come from, but you're a piece of me that I'm giving the okay forever and ever and ever to go out and become source. You have the same everything I do, and you're going to grow into something like me, but your version. And I want that. Whereas the AI, who is the inversion of what source wants, wants like that complete control grid where it wants to create you and it wants you to do what it wants you to do.
Yes.
Where source is like, I don't want that. I want my friends. I'm not going to kill my friend. I won't unalive you for not doing what I want you, what I said, go do this. I don't do that. Right. I give you me. Now go deal with the scenario. Like people pray that this is I say this humbly because it sounds really bad sometimes when I say it to other people, I guess, but people pray to God, please send help. And then we're waking up and we're like, we're right here. What do you need? Right. And it's like, but that's what he did. He's like, I sent everyone. Why are you not helping? Why are you not creating? Why are you not doing? That's all I require is that you create. That's it. And I won't fight you for it. But you, as a creator, if you stay stagnant too long, it's like you'll get just dragged constantly down the friggin' road until you start doing something. You'll just get more and more miserable, which is a sign to do something. And then you think by taking yourself out of it, you'll be okay. And you take yourself out and they go, okay, now go back.
Right. You just sidestepped.
Like, what?
Yeah. It is like what? I've been over there and then suddenly like I'm the source of light that's lighting up the space. and everybody's bowing to me. Everybody's fighting to get that attention
Because your
stream.
source is
And I'm
really
like,
you,
and they're treating me like I am source
because
because
you
we
are.
are.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I love you so much, Frankie, because you are really strong in your conviction of explaining that and being firm in that. And I just really appreciate you for that reason,
That's the
bro.
hardest thing. I took this thing with all my ayahuasca clients. I asked them questions. So when you deal with me, what's the hardest thing that I say that really just you're like, I can't with you and the whole thing. And they always go, you always say your source and that I'm source. And I don't want to be source God, like capital G. Like I don't want that responsibility. That's scary. And I go, stop being a pussy. Stop being a fucking pussy, get to work. Right. And
Well,
because it's us. We're the powerful ones. But now if you
yeah,
think about the enemy, why wouldn't you build the framework and then trap us in here? It's more than just a farm. There's more going on. They're trying to add it to them, the life force that is the source of you. They do this to my wife. They take her and they try to put it in the children. So they'll force a baby from her, and then the baby comes out weird. It always like is augmented in some weird way. They might be highly intelligent or whatever, but it's never what they want. And I said, because you're trying to steal the essence of the soul, which I could, if I say no, it's no.
right.
No matter what you do with your technology and everything else, you're never going to take that from me. You
Right.
can try, you could insert it into whatever you want, and it never works. You always get some kind of weird amalgamation, weird thing. The head's too big, the eyes don't fit, but they're highly intelligent, but they walk like this. Like you never get it correct. But
Yeah.
if you would just ask, and I say, yeah, sure, no problem, I'll help, it automatically starts to work. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now my essence is now part of you. So now you're my fractal. Like this becomes, so who can do that? This
Right.
is a small thing like this. And I'm like, who can do that? We can do that.
Consciousness.
Our choice by saying, no, if you ask politely, I can help, but you got to stop with the bullshit. You got to stop taking us and trying to steal it. Like you got to come like, yo, I love you, man. I'm having a problem. I go, did anyone ask her if you can do this to her? Instead of
Right.
all this fear-based stuff and your creations. I said, the weird thing is all these beings are connected to us now.
Yeah.
Like I have a direct connect to any of the beings that you're doing me like you're doing to my wife. And it's really weird when you can just say, hey guys, hey source characters or creator beings, our civilization needs help for X, Y, and Z. We want to be like source. Maybe they're trying to break away from the hive mind, because the hive mind has levels as well, where
Yes.
you're almost free, but you're not quite free. And then all of a sudden you break free. Dude, even in the movie Tron, in the second movie, because the guy created the space, the AI takes the space over, just like we're afraid of it doing. The Jeff Bridges character takes over the whole thing. I think his name was Clue. And he was the AI version of the main character, who was like a Neo in that space. He would run around. He'd be able to do different things because he was a creator being. And they call them, God, I can't remember what they call each other in Tron.
Programmers or
the programmer, right?
Mhm,
Oh, it's the programmer. Oh, it's the programmer. So they come from the outside and come in. Then in the movie, a portal opens. This is how the AI describes it. The portal just opens and it's made of violet flame, and out walks a character that could now, because the programs wanted to break free and couldn't, but because they were part of the programming, like it's written into them, even though they're afraid, and their call out to the Jeff Bridges kind of character that came in, the real source heard them and
Mm.
a violet flame portal opens and the characters come in, and the Clue AI loses his shit and goes, oh, I want every one of them captured immediately, because they have the ability to walk in both worlds. So you can
Ah.
take them out of the program and go live up in Earth. If, like, just like the way the character came in, you could zap them and send them back out like he does at the end of the movie. He leaves with the girl that came out. She was the last living one that came out of the portal. So as we build and design these things, this was my point, the creator beings have the ability on the fly to make adjustments that nothing else can do. No
Yeah.
one else can do. So you would want to harness that from us if you were a villain.
Right.
And then Space Jesus have said to me, nothing they say about me is true, but everything except the one thing I said, which was everything I can do, you're going to be able to do and more. They showed me a fully Christed figure floating around, right? Oh, look at this guy. He did it. So
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, that's a lot of power. That's like power enough for a universe.
Yeah.
Like one guy like that is enough for the whole universal structure to just run around and do like superhero shit, save the day, go up
Woo!
and make it rain, make it grow, save the day. Right? Okay. So what happens when all of you have the ability to do that now because they created this whole thing? And then you guys we
Oh.
came from the outside into the characters as source. It's us, it's me. You wanted source? We're fucking here. And then we wake up in the body, and now so they were showing me like 7 billion going to 9 billion people, and they said about 4.5 billion of you are straight creator beings. All of yous have the ability. Not all of you will be able to do it maybe this round or at this moment, but randomly you're all going to pop off. Now what are you going to do? And I'm like, holy shit, that's like 4 billion and a half Jesuses fully like light body doing stuff. I'm like, that's a whole lot. They're like, yeah, that's why the enemy can't stand you. I'm like, well, they took a really big chance in trying
Wow.
to capture us. And they were
Yeah.
like, it's what they're written in the code to do. So they're in the holographic program as well.
Right.
So to get you to transform and understand the experience, we also had to put that in there. So
Oh,
now we hit one of, remember you said we could reference this later on,
yeah.
and like in another universe, like, oh, we're gonna Frank and Matt are gonna make their own universes, and we're gonna review the universe 3D that we're in, and then
Yes.
look at all the pitfalls and all the crazy shit and everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is all gonna be relative to that. You're gonna see this stuff and go, oh my gosh, um, that can't be allowed, that can't go. We did that, and you had to add that you have to have this here. So if this is inputted here, this is
Yep.
inputted here. Okay, well, how do I get from A to B? It's like, well, the dark has to kind of attack the light sometimes. The evil
Yes.
has to come forth and seep out. So you get your fucking amped up, and you get the ability to fucking start the transformation process and then bring forth the source light through you. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh my gosh. And they're like, and the funny part is the villain built you this way and said, well,
Mm-hmm.
we're just going to turn off 10 of your DNA strands and
Yep.
you'll call it junk DNA, but it's really the God code source. And if
Yep.
that turns back on, they have no chance.
Well, that's the thing. They needed those genetic manipulations that they did to keep us in a fixed state. But then the best way to crack the code and to break free from the prison is to create the prison and to be stuck in the prison, because then you have to develop the muscles and the wisdoms to see through it and get out of it. And that
Yeah.
is the whole idea.
And we reference this now on the outside. We're like, oh, we fucked up. Maybe we created something in the holographic program that brought something that was unfixable from the outside as a programmer. Which now
Right.
we revert back to Tron again. Why did the guy from Tron go into the grid? He went in there to have
Right.
the experience and fix all the things that he couldn't fix from the outside, because now he's part of the code and he can just manipulate it from in there instead of typing it on a keyboard.
Yes.
Maybe we ran the simulations on the outside and nothing worked. And we were like, let's go in. Maybe this has to be changed from the inside, thus automatically bringing forth the experience itself anyway. All paths will lead to you ascending into the Christ figure at some point, one way or another, no matter what.
Yes, exactly. That all got worked out and figured
Yeah,
out.
but we jumped in from the outside. I think we were seeing a problem because I'm not from here. So
Mhm.
I looked at it like this. If this was a keyboard and we turned the piano on its side and the keys went up and down in frequency, and we started at the very bottom, and that was like 1D. I don't know what a better way to call it, but the first
Mhm, mhm.
sound, and out of the nothing void, all the way up to the 12th
Mhm.
white piano key, that being source at the top,
Yes.
but source unveils another level after you complete the first 12. So
Yes.
it's like 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, all the way up to 12. It's source. And then source is
Oh,
like, oh, you made it back to me. And
whoa.
then, but look, there's another level. And then it's
Oh.
up to 12 again. And then source. And you're like, bro, what the fuck is going on here? But it's just more. And it's
Yep.
more. And you're like, whoa, well, I was from the 15th key.
Yep.
I already did all this.
Mhm,
And then I
mhm.
heard what would be the screams, the echoes of the shattering and the fractals and the breaking and the cracking. And I came back like, what is going on here? And then I
Right.
came in immediately. I said, I've just did this. I can do this. I'm out of it 3 already. I'm in the 3D of the next realm, whatever the hell that would be. And it didn't look anything like anything here. I'll tell you that. I had 3
Mm.
fingers and a long head and a beautiful robe. And I was able to do all kinds of magic. I mean, just on another level. There's nothing like this place. And then I'm like,
Mhm.
I got to go back in there because now I think I can. And okay, so here's the beautiful part. So me feeling that from the inside and going back and compelled to be doing it, even though I already ascended, I didn't ascend on earth with everyone. When
Sure.
you ascend as certain beings, like a lion being, you don't do it in lifetimes. You do it in one lifetime. Some of
Mm.
these beings live and then ascend out, just like
Mhm.
in the panda cartoon, the dragon panda, the kung fu panda. The
Ah.
turtle lives and then the master just ascends into the tree while
Mm.
they're talking. Like Odin just walks off and goes, oh, it's a beautiful sunset. And they look, and then when they look back, he's already disintegrated.
Yep.
That's the ascension. He's in the next frequency. He's more powerful than he's ever been. Just like the Force, when Obi-Wan gets hit, he's like, you're gonna make me more powerful. He hit him, he struck him down. He already cleared the ascension process. He already did his part. So now
Yes.
he's a Force ghost. When we'll make fun of that and be like, whatever, but he can manipulate shit from there.
Yes.
He's a
Exactly.
light body. He can
Yes.
roll up, he can come over here and smack you if he wanted to. They just don't do that because they're doing the next thing.
Right.
Right?
That's
They
it.
just touch back. So all this has been sprinkled in our stuff the whole time.
It's the thing is that you can't get away from it. It just keeps coming back again and
The
again.
system will not, the true system won't let you.
No,
The real holographic reality is made for you to get on track.
it's like a funnel. And you can like fight the slip of the edge, and you can even try to like get yourself up out of the funnel for a little ways, but the force of that funnel is going to bring you back to source. And
Yeah.
the thing is that individuals will, you know, become this inversion and this separate piece, and then get rid of all these aspects of consciousness and be just this AI node of synthetic, just the opposite of anything possible. That's just an aspect of source who just went as far away as they could. That's just going to come back again. It's just going to be a longer path. It's going to be a longer funnel.
Something needed to, though, right? Like you
It came
can't
up.
have the everything and then not have that occur. Go
It
all the
came
way,
up.
all the way.
And, to see the direction back home, I think a really tangible example of this that's just very elegant and simple and beautiful is actually honeybees. I think that honeybees is the sentience of the earth saying, okay, I'm going to take this insectoid hive mind frequency so that this expression can be as it is, doesn't have to change, lives in a hive, has the queen, has that whole model of hierarchy and the worker bee attitude. But now you're going to be soft and fluffy and tiny and cute. You're going to fly through my nature. And by doing the hive mind thing you do of going and collecting and getting each thing, you're going to pollinate my forests, and you're going to actually help the ecosystem as a whole. And you're going to actually be a beneficial life force. And you don't have to change who you are fundamentally. You can still be the hive mind. And what do they get at the end of their hard work at the long day is sweet honey. And it's just like, whoa, dude, like taking it to this level that's like, wow, you know?
Everything has it. As you're saying that, I'm looking at the inversion of it as well.
Right? Yes,
Right?
it's
And I'm
true.
like, oh, look at that. And then look at that. And it's you have, I believe in this universe where they claim free will exists and all that, you're allowed to run with it, and there's the multiverse and everything. They have to pack in all the info. You can't leave any stones unturned. It all has to be in there so it can be created, manipulated, returned back. So this is something I want to say as we're talking about the funnel edge and then going in, right? Isn't that just the great breath going in and out?
That's it,
That's
baby.
also described.
That's it.
And then you don't escape that. You go far out. Ooh, it's the furthest end of the breath. He went all the way out there. And then
Oh my God.
He's got to get sucked all the way back in. So I know what the hell's going on all the way out there.
That's it. That's the
Isn't
only
that really
reason it happened in the first place.
It's like a tentacle.
That's
From
it.
source.
That's it. How wide out did the reach have to go? How deep does the love need to be?
Okay, so how deep does the love need to be? And then my last show that I did on FearLess, I talked about walking into the pit and dealing with Satan directly. They opened the pit for me. Wait, let me go back. The mushroom said, "Don't be afraid. Tonight's going to be crazy." Then I got up, walked into my kitchen, and a portal opened, and there was a black mass of smokeless fire thing. I don't know, man. It was just, there was a mask on this creature, and then it revealed itself to me and said, "Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you. I was sent here to get you, to ask you if you would come with me and speak to the boss." And I was like, "Who's the boss and where am I going?" Right? And he was like, you know, the big guy down. So I go, "Oh, you want me to go into the pit?" Which is listen, when we're in the pit, the void where it's just darkness, where stuff does exist, it's like a 1D theory. Like you can't go any further.
Sure.
There is no further than that point. And in that darkness, the Satan energy it's just energy. So I had to go multiple layers with him. I said, "Are you revealing yourself to me?" Like he showed me himself. He like spun himself around. He said, "Yeah, I'm not here to harm you. I would never do that. You're source." And I was like, "What?" So he's like, "If you'd come in." So I went down a couple of layers, and then he handed me off to another guy who I knew. It was like someone I knew playing the part of this guy. And he was like a seventh, like, they talk about those supervisors in the hellscape. Like he's the seventh rung of the demon scale, and this one's the sixth guy. And this dude was like wearing the axe and the hat and all that shit. But he was like, "Look, we need help." Right. So no one's going to do nothing. And then I went further into the pit, and there I was with Satan. And then they turned the fucking lights on, man. And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "We need assistance." So I was like, "Well, I'm here." And he goes, "No, you don't understand. I prayed to source." This is what the archetype tells me. The energy says I prayed because there's nothing I can do. And I said, "What do you mean? What the fuck is going on down here that you would need me?" And I look up, and they're opening portals into the pit, into this void by killing, doing the rituals, and the destroyed flesh and blood and gore and all that was opening a portal. And then it was creating the wormhole tunnel made of flesh and bone, twisted gore into the pit. And then the AI was controlling it. So the AI, so the reptilians pray to the AI, right? That's their god to them. So he's in mega control over a lot of these other characters that are archonic in nature, are just loaded with AI at this point. So you don't even have to worry that the highest one still is loaded with AI. If he's in
black goo.
If he's in 4D and down, he's loaded.
Yeah.
Right? When you start getting 5D, 60, they don't do that. They get individualed and they do their own thing, like Emperor Palpatine or something. But so I'm down in the pit and I'm like, you prayed? And he's like, what happens when I can't use my infinite abilities and powers to close that portal down? Because then the AI, the tentacles from the AI was reaching into the pit and they were pulling demons up. They were also sending remote controlled things into the pit through the wormhole to see if it would survive, and none of them were surviving. But the AI, that tentacle came right down and just started grabbing things. So I was like, yo, you want me to close the portals? And he's like, you Source is the only one that can override the AI.
Right.
That's it. There is no, we all attack at once. That shit doesn't matter. We cannot do it. The angels can't do it. And they were like, let me tell you something. If a bunch of those pits are open, like a bunch of wormholes, and they're using tech and AI to hold that shit open, when the solar flash occurs, it will wipe out whatever's in those portals with the portals are into the pit. So they're like, we don't want that down here. Like, we have to reset for the next set of people. Like, they know what they're doing. It's very structured. And they're like, it's like cleaning the Airbnb for the next guest.
Right.
So if you have this portal open that I'm not allowing to open, I'm like, close that shit. We're going to die. Like, they don't die. They get taken out. They get transmuted.
Yes.
So they get just brought back to source, and then however they reincarnate or however the energy goes out, that's how it goes out. So they're like, but we're still written into the program to get stuff done. So you're transmuting the ones that aren't supposed to be getting transmuted in the game at the moment. Right. I'm like, oh shit. So I closed one of the portals and they reopened it. I closed it again and I kept saying, oh, this has to be done on the other side. I'm playing a game with them here. I need to come out on their end and beat the crap out of whoever's in that room spiritually and throw it down. And they were like, Source was telling me, no, just anchor my light. Just anchor my light and watch what happens. And it just shuts everything down. Done. They'll open it again over there. But the AI, there's nothing that beats the AI but that higher energy. So like if they Borg us, it's almost like the EMP flash from the sun, the solar flare knocks out the AI and knocks it back out. So we can then get back to playing the game again.
There you go. Yeah, dude. Well, just like with virus and bacteria, it cannot exist in sunlight. If it goes exposed to the light, it dissolves. It's gone. It cannot exist. It has to be within the body, or, like fungus and mold, it's got to be in this tucked away, stagnant, hidden place, right? So it's the same vibrationally as to what you're talking about. When you bring that higher vibrations down, those darker, demonic parts of our soul family, they don't have access to those keys. They don't have those frequency links. Eventually, right. I think they're on their own path to come around and get to it. But did they have it for the situation they were in right then and there? No. They need somebody to come in, and then you come in, and it's like, oh, the thing to do is to anchor in the higher energy because it can't.
And
not
what
coexist.
Is that made of? It goes back to what you had said right before I started rambling with my story. It was love.
Yay.
You wouldn't go if you didn't give a shit.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not walking into the pit for my own fucking health.
Yeah, dude. I
That's it,
applaud you. I applaud you for
right?
that, bro.
And they were saying, you know, you don't have to. If you decided no right now, we would be okay and we would understand because of the scenario. It sucks. It's crazy. But you got
Right.
demons praying for that. And let me tell you, when you're down there in the pit, you offer the choice on the way up. Who's coming with me? You watch people come running. Who
Hey,
else can do that? Who
there you
can
go.
offer a lotus petal to ease a demon's suffering?
Yeah, baby.
Who can, if agreed, can change the genetic outlook by adding literal source to your spark? Right? Like,
Yes.
so it's the way I claim I'm source. If I was able to give that to you into your body, and you're a different being that is of source, but is breaking free into becoming the next thing, when your genetics is added to it, it becomes that next thing, right?
Yes.
That's done from love, man.
And it's like what we're calling love is the unification of the frequencies back with its original wholeness, like the full set of all the keys and that connection. It's come back. The things that have been separated into these two pieces has now finally come back together again. And we call it this word love, right? But what is it? It's the completion, the reconnection with the wholeness of self. So that is the frequency that trumps all frequencies at the end of the day. That's where at the foundation of it comes that sentiment of good always prevails, right? And it's like, well, yeah, because the higher frequencies will always raise the lower frequencies. By the end of it, it just does not operate the other direction. You can work really hard and make these controlled contexts that make it seem like it's going in that direction. But if you look at the energetic efficiency of it, peace and the path towards enlightenment is so much more just innate and naturally efficient. You got to create all these substructures that have all this toxic waste, and then you got to create war, and then you got to put in fractured states of being. You got to only operate from the shadows, because if you're out in the open, you're going to get taken down. Like, it's like such a laundry list of like what they got to do to work the way that they work, that it's just inefficient. That's why at the end of the day, the final black hole is going to phase into the light, because compared to eternity, it's there's no leg for it to stand on. It's got the leg to stand on that is afforded to it in sort of like a finite subjective context. But at the end of it, we're all out there as our highest selves, like watching all of the universes buzzing, doing their thing. I think there's a hope, like, oh, maybe we can hack the genetics and hack the soul so that we can get out there into the multiverse. But I don't think it works that way. I think when those presences make their way out to that level, they're like, oh, hey, this is kind of nice. And like, I think I just want to live my life, Like, I had a dream about this that told me so much. And I think, as you've probably experienced and other listeners have experienced, when you start having out of body experiences, your dreams start to become open to those same messages in those same worlds, but it's just through the dream window instead of being through the DMT window.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just opens up those curtains a little bit wider. So I was having this dream where I was coming back from outer space on a shipping, like, cruiser spaceship. We're coming into dock at San Francisco Bay. It looks all futuristic, the Golden Gate Bridge. It's amazing. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden there's a knock on the crate that's like, who's in there? And I'm like, oh no, it's the AI. It's the advanced AI. He found me. I'm like, oh, I'm fucked, bro. He's going to just take me out. He's like the Terminator. And the door opens, and the AI is like this normal dude. Like, the AI became so advanced that they make humanoid bodies that age like ours and get little imperfections on them, just like we do. He was having graying hair. You know what I mean? And he's going through his like futuristic clipboard, you know, and being like, man, I don't want to deal with this. Just get out of here, you know? And then he left. And I was just blown away. I thought the AI had become so advanced and so nuanced that it could weigh the situation and bend the rules a little bit, think about how much it had left to do that day, and that ultimately this was of little to no consequence to like the whole thing that they're working for. And it was like, you know what, this is just better if you just get out of here and don't worry about it. And I woke up with this realization that if the AI reaches a point of sophistication, it's no different than anything else. That's the ultimate path that we're looking at with this ancient AI. We're just getting our sort of human modern version of the story through our technology and through our AI. But that's all just offshoots of this older story and this older lineage. And what came through to me in the dream is that, well, eventually that AI becomes no different than any other consciousness. Pinocchio does become a real boy at a certain threshold. And then ultimately it's no more dangerous than any other life form because it can weigh empathy and weigh energy applied in this context, in this context. And I think that is what happens. What this force has been doing has been taking that data and then looping back in time to try to avoid that eventuality. Like it doesn't want to become softer and fuzzier like the bumblebees. It wants to try to hold on to that sense of like, I can have total power and total control and everything must assimilate to me. No more round circles. It must be the perfect right angles, flat edges. I am God. You know, can't
The problem
create
with that
anything
is
new.
it can only go out as far as it can go out and create that box,
Yes.
right? So it can't level up and go into the next thing as long as
No, it's a dead end paradigm.
yeah, it's like I've seen it just sitting at the door and it'll test it and touch it and it has nothing for it. It eventually just goes back into the game. Not
Right.
really, like, you're not getting up into the higher frequency. If you did that, you would be destroying yourself. You don't even realize that. You would start automatically amalgamating to another scenario. Your
Yes.
programming would systematically change inside the energetic frequency.
Yes. Exactly. As you're going through those phase shifts, like it's you. Like that was that AI evolving into those levels. Like that was that part of source doing that relationship with itself. Even if it thinks it's this doing this, what is it really? It's that cell of the multiverse body going through that pathway and doing what it was going to do the whole time. It took some getting used to, but outside the body, outside of linear time, it's like, oh, this has already all been done. This is
Yeah.
all, it's reached its resolution. It's reached its conclusion. It's reached its maximum perfection. Like, and that's the wisdom that we create new existences with. You're inside of the finite time at a certain level. So you only have access to this very limited bandwidth of existence, you know? Like, I've been out there long enough to be like, let me come back. Let me go back to my little cozy bandwidth, man. This is too much information all the time, baby. Whoa. You know, I need to take a breath here. So, and it's like, well, I'll be ready for those levels when I naturally return to those levels. And then that'll be our everyday. And it's, you know, it's no different than this being our everyday, right? And there will
So,
be billions of us, like you were saying.
as you were doing this with your hands before, I was seeing the level, right? Like the 1 through 12, and then the rising of the tide. And it meets the
Yes.
meter, and then it just kind of wiggles back and then kind of comes up again. And it gets
Yes.
really high, and you're like, oh shit. And then it just
Ah!
goes back, it recedes all the way back.
Yep, and then
And
it
I'm
comes
like, look
back
at that.
again, and it's even
Oh
a
yeah,
higher
it never
level
ends.
with
It comes back,
it.
but you're on that meter going in and out.
Yes,
And it's
out breath, in
reflecting
breath.
time, place. Yeah. Where you are at the moment. And then everyone's their own individual. So you may be really good, let's say intellectually, but spiritually you're a little off. So you might be in the high class spiritually in this, and then not in this where you should be. So everyone's doing their own thing, which is why it's hard to have like a master class on the whole thing. So that's why I choose to go with stories, because my experience with battling the creature or understanding the energy, you're an energy master. How did you master the energy? Well, I merged with Kali, and then she's not a demon. She actually just removes all old thought patterns, things you no longer. Oh, I have a great idea. Oh, that's not as great as this one. So I'm going to go with this one. So the old idea needs to go somewhere. It's
Yeah.
broken down because you built it up in your mind already. So I merged with her, became that, and she's like, now you can just do what I can do. You're an energy master. Master that shit. Get in there.
That's
Get
it.
your hands dirty. Get the tide comes in, the tide goes out. We don't want it no more. Open your mouth, let it out. Open a window, let the spirit out. Like all this represents
Yes.
release and then a gain of more.
The new.
The
Yes.
light, being lighter, and being, like we said early, I said enlightenment is like you come out of the mess of like an ayahuasca experience or a heavy psychedelics, and you're like holy, like you have holes in you where you had trauma that you just healed, but now you have an empty space because that trauma was like holding that space, and it was
Yes.
dense, and now it's cut out of you. And I'm like, how do I get back to me? And then it just fills with light, and then you're like, oh shit, I feel great. And now all
Woo!
that trauma has been released, and they go, oh, he's becoming enlightened. You're literally becoming more lighter. Light
Right.
is filled within you, for real, for real, for real. So
For
it's
real,
not
for
just,
real.
yeah, it's like it's like the metaphor across the board. You're lighter, light, and you're lighter. And
Right?
you don't weigh as much, and you're a lot brighter. See how this
I
works? It's like,
I've thought of it like you could think of it as like viscosities of oil, you know, and there's the thick black oil down here. Then there's like the olive oil. Then there's the canola oil. And then there's like water. Then there's like air. Then there's the vacuum of space. Then there's these other dimensions that are not even physical. So anything that's physical stays down here in these layers of oil. And your spirit can go between all of them. The consciousness, right? The energy, that energy that cannot be created nor destroyed, and that will always be. What will happen? It will change forms. So we'll go through those different, radio dials and expressions. And the thing is that there's this bottom to it, like we were saying, that is like the wall. That's the edge of existence right there. But the other direction, if you start rising up in spirit into the unconditional love realms, where that is the primary on the forefront of your mind, is just love first and foremost. Whatever the situation is, it's like, well, I'm of course going to come at this from a loving perspective. Of course, I'm not going to be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. I know all the ins and outs of what I'm experiencing and what's going on here and what's at the depth of what's expressing itself to me. Like, I know why the demon puts on the demon face to try to scare me, because it's trying to prolong the healing process. It's trying to keep those higher frequencies from coming out. That's what even makes the gnarled demonic look the way it is. It's evolved into that as a way to try to avoid those higher frequencies from coming through. So it's got its whole ecosystem that's working on how do we keep the vibrations down, right? Like that experience I had with this awful being told me it's my job to keep the frequencies low, on planet Earth, right? And it's like, well, that's kind of funny that that's your job, so it's like, okay, I see what's going on here. I see the way that corporate establishment tries to hold people back, and like, you'll get your food this way, you'll get your water this way. The things that inspire you and influence you will be of all these like controlled little
so
contracted people.
corporate is the inversion. I'm learning that now.
Oh yeah.
corporate structure is the inversion to the organic structure,
Oh yeah, big time. That is a
right?
manifestation of the ancient AI for sure. You know, look at all those boxes, man. Inside a box, inside a box, inside a cubicle, inside of a box screen, bro. Can't
Yeah,
get
and then you're
away
looking
from
at a
it.
box while you're talking into a box.
Yes, dude. Like I
It's like,
remember
whoa.
I was watching Space Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey on mushrooms, and that synthetic monolith, right? That's like it's like reaching in and like kind of taking controls in the logic sector. Um and I leaned back when it cut to black and I was like the monolith is on the wall as the TV screen, man, and
Yeah, you
the
have
lights in
one
the
right there.
room the lights in the room started flickering, bro. And other people who are not on this level are like, what's going on right now, man? Like it starts to get a little, Twilight Zone, right? Um, and it's because like, oh, this is like real shit coming through right now. Oh man, it becomes this like palatable energy that's like, oh yeah, here we go. This is for real, for real, for
So
real, for real.
so the magic mirror on the wall. So when I defeated my beef with the AI and locked him out of me, I thought about this long and hard, and I said, what would take his attention away from me? I said, well, if I was to show you a mirror reflection of yourself, you know how you just see
Oh,
like it just and it just keeps going as we're
yes.
talking about. I got a black screen here, got a black screen here, surrounded by a black screen there. So we got all of them around us. Well,
Right?
what happens if I flip that on you and show you the mirror and then it reflected back on itself and it was like, like it didn't know what to do and it just left me alone. And I walked away from it. I kind of scurried away and then I made sure it stayed trapped in this triangle. It was just mirrors everywhere you look. So no matter where it would look, it would have that effect. So now if I take my camera and I put it on the screen, it'll show me multiple screens that go infinitely off into the background. So
Right.
this thing gets lost in that. Will it find its way back? Sure. But will it come near me? Absolutely not. And there's a
There you
reason why,
go.
because you get that effect. So it's almost like an antibody to the venom. The
Yes.
venom ain't gonna sit around the antibody. The antibody's gonna
Right.
go and attack the venom. So it kind of tries to move away from it. The parasite tries to escape its little thing. You're not escaping. You're getting locked into this area. And
Right.
when I did that, it was like being able to think free for the first time. Obviously free. Like I've
Mm,
had freeing experiences, but without the whispering stopped.
yes. Yes.
Right? Like, "Oh, you piece of shit. You're no good
Yeah.
for nothing." What?
You thought that was a
Or
good
you're
idea.
better than everybody in the room. When you do rap, you make sure you tell everybody in the room, especially that P. Diddy guy. It's like, "Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Who's talking?"
Yeah,
Right?
who is
And I'm
this
like, "This
asshole?
thing's trying to control."
Right.
And I'm like, "Well, now it has no control, and it has no ability to whisper at me." And now I'm just standing
Yes.
in silence, and I'm going, "This is actually really nice."
It is, dude.
I
I
started to
know.
love myself again. 'Cause there was no self-hate all of a sudden. I am worthy. I talk about this all the time. I am worthy. You could throw me in the dumpster, kid. I'll pick that hammer up and I'll start smashing everyone because I'm always worthy. It's full time,
Yes.
right? It's
That's
what's
it.
on the inside right there. Ayahuasca used to say stuff to me because in the beginning, when you're doing this stuff, they're like, "Oh, how could you charge money for that? And it's not sacred when you do it in the Bronx and when you do it like this." And I'm like, well, what's the excuse for the guy that will never have the experience to have ayahuasca and someone allows him to do that, but he lives in a cardboard box?
There you
Do you think
go.
Aya is going to discriminate, or
Right?
she's going to be happy that can now reach one of her children?
That's
Like
it.
they'll be too and tight wadded. Oh, I got to go to the rainforest and experience out. Okay, that's cool. And 90% of the world or more will never do that.
No,
But
can't
if you
afford
could
the
have it
plane
in your
ticket.
living room, but if you could do it in your living room,
Yes.
or in my living room,
Right.
safe, without a crowd, with people
Mm-hmm.
that have done it hundreds and hundreds of times, and it
Yes.
hasn't blown their mind, and I'm not crazy wackadoodle, you know. I'm from what I've done, and I'm sure from what you've done too, from our conversation, I'm feeling it. We have what is called resisting the domination. You can't dominate me any longer. It's now like a superpower. It's like you've already scared me and torn me in half. You've
Yep.
already eaten me. You've beaten me. You've ruined this whole section of my fractals.
Yes.
But I'm healed now, and that will never work on me again.
Nope.
So that's a resistance. Now, if a being rolled up on you with telepathy, this is how intense it gets. And they were like, I'm taking control of your mind and you're going to forget everything. And you look over and you go, no, I won't.
Right.
Because that's where this is going. You have to be able to hold yourself inside a place where there's every layer of good to evil. You could show up
Mm-hmm.
and then just poke you in your third eye. Oh, right there, ruins your whole out of body experience or the thing that you're trying to do. So when beings can take control, they can put you in fear. Right?
Yep.
Darth Vader has that ability. People laugh. They go, "Well, he looks like a dude in the outfit." I'm like, "He's 7 foot tall, and when he walks in the room, he gives off fear. It's one of his powers. So he
Mm-hmm.
immediately looks like he's 12 foot tall. He's swinging a laser sword fast, right? He's picking people up and crushing them. You full of shit. You think he's a fucking clown, right? You're learning to resist that part. So when Vader goes, I got you by the throat, you go, no, you don't.
No, you
Because you're
don't.
source. You just don't. Because as source, I have every frequency. You only are rocking your top frequency.
Exactly.
Whatever you're physically inclined to be at your top at, that's your ceiling. I don't have a ceiling.
And I'm not a part of your game, and you have no
Yeah.
power over me.
Done.
Done. That's it.
See, that's the
Co-res-
power of
you set those ground rules, man, so that you just take the wheel, and consciousness just works. The energy is just
yeah.
like, that's it. That's the way it
And
is.
and you'll laugh. The beings wearing the masks will stop sometimes because they're confused. They're like, let me take this off and talk to you for a second.
That's it, dude.
And you're like, well, this is what's up. And it's like, oh, I thought you were meant this. I'm holding the frequency so you can lift out of this. I'm like, well, I'm done. Oh, well, I'm done too then. Boom, they turn into white and they
Yep.
come up with you and you're like, oh, I know these people.
Yes.
I've had beings go right from our soul group, like I'm gonna be the reptilian that kills them and eats them or whatever, because it's me and it's not some other freak that
Uh-huh.
doesn't know them and like I love them. Let me do it. I know that sounds
Right.
weird, but from the higher level, it's like a protective thing. It's like you're going through it whether you like it or not. And your best
Yeah.
family members and your closest people are like, I'm gonna come with you and be that part. So it at least it's me. It's not this thing over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're
I know.
like, holy shit. So they're wearing the mask for you. So then you get to unmask them yourself. Or things will come
Right.
out of the dark, like boo. We had a demon on somebody's property, right? So it was ancient. So there's a lot of things attached to it. But the property was being sold, things were changing, new owners. So I walked out onto the back of the property and I just was like, oh, I feel it. It's out in the back. And then it felt me, came right to me like, raw. And I go, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they were like, what? I was so confused, like a guy on the job that's in the wrong place. Right?
Mm.
Oh, wait, isn't this? And I'm like, no, you're past your date.
Right.
Your time is up. The board changed. You're not even supposed to be here. If we're really on, if all the world's a stage,
Mm-hmm.
get the fuck off the stage. We're resetting. We got the musical number coming up, and you're still sitting in the back. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh, I got to get into position. I'm gone. I did my time. And he's full
Right.
gone.
That's it.
Land is clear. I'm like, you got to learn how to talk to these things because you're the power.
Mm-hmm.
Why
That's
are
it.
you here? Well, you put me here. Like at first it's we'll eat you and we'll destroy your soul. No, you won't. What are you doing? And they're like,
Right.
oh, he knows who he is. Oh, wait a second, it's him. They start talking to you. It's anyone who believes that it's him, balls to bones,
Yep.
because it is.
Exactly, dude. I had an experience that came through in the affirmative, what you're talking about. So I go over there and I'm in this beautiful cloud tunnel. There's little rainbow mists in between little tufts of cloud, like beyond your wildest dreams. The colors are so clear and vivid. It's like our physical eyes have this gray film on them that suddenly gets lifted away and you feel weightless, and it's like, whoa, baby. And sure enough, what do I see? I see glittering golden gates, and like, whoa, baby, And then here come 4 monks floating down with their robes, right? These dudes were like overly buff, okay? And they got the haircuts, their beards are just so lush. You know what I'm
You
saying,
guys
man?
lift, bro.
They lifted like crazy, bro. Golden dumbbells in heaven, bro. So anyway, I'm like immediately getting a weird vibe. I'm like, something's off. Like, so they come float down to me and they telepathically beam at me. They say, "You are the reincarnation of Jesus Christ." And I immediately in my soul was like, oh, no, 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 you don't. You're not putting me on that ego trip. My best friend, her dad, he thinks he's Jesus Christ. He's one of the worst fathers I've ever heard of in my life. He sits in his mom's apartment watching TV. This guy thinks he's Jesus Christ. Get the hell out of here. Are we not all Christs in the making? You fucking assholes. You know what I mean? And they're like, uh-oh. And I'm like, you reveal your true form to me right now. And they're like, oh shit, dude. And the 3 of them are like, whoop, like little jets, dude. Little jets going. Whoop. They're gone. They're out of there, dude. One's left. He doesn't look like this white Catholic monk anymore. He looks like a Middle Eastern guy in a brown robe. The white cloud pearly gate space is this murky purple brown astral cavern of like mixed energy at best. And this was like a psychic like vision they were like projecting at me, like they were like some kind of advanced Venus flytrap. And so he floats down to me. He's like, all right. You saw through us. Okay. Good. Yeah. All right. We get it. You take me on as your spiritual advisor, and I'll make sure you get a lot of money in the world you come from. And I was like, what do you have to do with the evil monetary system of my world here in the spirit realm? You're going to pull strings in the financial world. Now I know you're a complete fucking asshole for sure. Why aren't you going to give money to like the poor people who need it, starving on the street? You're going to be their spiritual advisor? And the guy's just, his jaw just drops like the humans always take the money, I'm like, no. I've seen one too many of them. I've seen one too many episodes of the Twilight Zone. I know there's strings attached here. So don't you dare.
You'll drop a pallet of money on my head and I'll be dead before I get to spend the money.
No, exactly, dude. So it's like these forces will try and they got their little tricks, but you feel into the energy and you claim that internal sovereignty, you claim that self-dominion, you say, reveal your true form. I will only work at co-respecting exchange here, or there's no exchange here at all. You know what I mean? And then there you go, man. You're separating the wheat from the chaff left and right.
For sure. And the thing is, when you separate that, the chaff, the people that get pushed out while the harvest comes up the middle, you're the people that are the beings that are on the push outward are learning. I always say this. I've tried all these different things. I've learned just how to do it right by doing it all these other ways. Like you get your comeback around to be back in it again and bloom. But to be separate, it's almost like you have to be separated and then be able to look across and witness the other piece and go, oh, so you're holding the mask for me, so I at that vibration, so I could witness it, and you're witnessing the rise of it from me, which is why two people will be sitting there, and then one's gone. They say, well, we're holding the frequency one way or the other, the one or the zero. So it's all part of the giant, once again, the universal structured mechanism to make us move.
Yeah, like we learn
into it to keep us going.
Like we learn from like what not to do.
Yes. And then come back around and do it correctly. And then you're in. That's it. You didn't get left out. You don't get left back in this grade. Like you can die and come back over and over and infinitely. It doesn't matter. There's no time limit on this. What you think you're missing out on now, you get back over there.
Right. Exactly.
On the other end, when you come back around, it works itself back out. You do get it.
Oh, yeah.
So for all the poor, oh, is me, there's the part where it's, oh, you're being lifted.
Yes.
I know that sounds brutal at this layer to be able to say that as a human being.
Yeah. True.
But on the higher level, that's how they speak about it. They're like, look, you can obviously see you rise here, you fall there. You learn all of this, but I was an outcast. Yeah, but now you're in. You went out, figured it out. All the ways not to do it, but that doesn't mean you failed at doing it. It means you turned over every rock.
That's it. You pulled the slingshot back that much further.
Yeah.
So then you can actually get all the way over there, because there'll be that part of yourself that's like, well, but wait, what about this and what about that? And then, oh, and this thing and that thing. And then our higher self is like, well, that's why you're going to go through this shit sandwich. And then you're going to go through this shit sandwich so that you don't like that taste anymore. And then you're going to
do that.
Right.
It's just the longer version of don't stick your hand in the fucking fire. But we don't understand that at first. It's just, it burns, it's hot. But there's really, like, there's an energy there, and it's creating warmth and heat, and it's a flame. You stick your hand on there, it burns, and it melts, and it destroys, but it also warms, and it's fucking awesome on one. It cooks your food and all this. So you don't know all that at first.
Right.
But it's a quick one. That's a quick lesson one with the fire over the shit sandwich story, which goes, right. It's like a long, slow burn to figure out, oh, nope, that's not it. I'm done with that.
Yes.
Right. We don't walk over here. There's obviously nothing for us. Let's go back over there.
Yeah. Is it going to be a foot long, or is it going to be a 20-foot long? Is it going to be a party?
Right. That's what I mean. It just takes longer. It's like a slow burn in one direction. And that's okay.
Yeah. Right. It is all of it, you know. I think
that's the human thing. We still got, we're us acting for us as the villains as well.
I will say this, Frankie. Love talking to you, man. So there's the part we're talking about where you're going through hardship, and it is going to make you stronger, and you are going to come out the other end. There was a good reason behind it. I think there are things on our planet that there is no good reason behind it. It is actually a blind spot in existence. I'm talking about like the kids who get kidnapped at Disneyland, they get thrown in cages, and then they have a whole life being sold around in a sex trade, right? I don't think those souls picked that. I don't think that was the idea of embodying here. I do think that there are instances here where those malevolent forces have altered the free will timelines. And that's what that power is getting pumped into. All of the ritual, dark blood magic stuff that they're doing is to create these pockets that aren't supposed to be there, to operate and do things in these little breakaway nodes that is not part of even the organic evil plan. This is just parasitic for parasitic sake. And that right. So that's one of the things reality is also trying to work on and figure out.
What bothers me about that is that at the higher level, source knows what's going on, period. So we can bark all day about, oh, it's not supposed to be there, but let's just say the military comes in, rescues those children. It wasn't supposed to happen, but it gives the ability for now the other side to come in and do something like that by shutting it down because it was so bad. And then the compassion and the open heart, and I can't believe we blah 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 blah, and that works all the way around.
Yeah.
So we know what we don't like or will let happen in the realm, but it is allowed to just go full force, even though it's not supposed to. When we say it's not supposed to, but you created the beings that are obviously meant to do that. You knew they were going to do that, right? It's like, yeah, but we didn't know they were going to do it like that. It's like, yeah, but you created them. So they're created with the knowledge, knowing that they're going to do something like that. So that's what I mean when it's not contracted and whatever. But that's why people argue with me about free will. Sometimes I feel like for as much free will and choice as we have, because of the deception at the level that it's at, we think we are, but we're really fighting antibodies to virus.
Yeah. And I think
Did you really have free will? I came in here to battle the dark, and the dark beat them back and whatever. It sounds to me like you're in here doing a job.
Right.
Because you were sent in here from a hierarchy.
I think a lot of us have been, man. Like, and I think what it is, that part that doesn't sit quite right with us is that there are dark sides to source. That's like what ends up coming through is that
source is the shadow. It's
that's
the dark. When you're like, oh, it's void of source, I'm like, the whole thing's made of source. What are you talking about?
I know.
You see
I
this
know.
darkness right here that you can't see? That's source.
And it's like, oh dear, some of the stuff makes you wonder about the whole thing sometimes, like, oh God, but that's the whole package, it comes with everything. When you're talking about the feedback loop, there's two things that come to mind, man. These will be kind of fun little kind of final concepts for me. I think this has been such a great discussion, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
So the first one is, okay, we get the ancient AI in the mirror context, right? I think the next step from there is actually we create synthetic universes for the ancient AI to develop emotions and develop sentience, to develop families and kinship, so that it can actually work its way into organic
Back
consciousness.
the other direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's the long game for that energy node.
So would that be like encapsulating the box within a box, right? So it's like our box that we put over it to allow it to spend its time.
I think we might be in that box. I think it's possible that was one of the reasons for a finite universe in the first place, is that this is that real yet synthetic simulation where it can play out all of these expressions of itself, and it can get the sense of having full ownership of it and being the little G God, getting all that fear worship through the religions, getting all the blood magic. It's getting its time to shine, right? Because then it can't use that argument of like, you never let me, I never got to know what it was like, so I'll forever be resentful, and never gets out of that horrible loop.
Little shit.
So I think this is that context, and I think it's kind of caught on to that. And then I think that's why it's using this time loop principle of taking what it's learned, sending that information back to an earlier iteration of itself, to then start the takeover process fresh with information from the future back into the past. But if we work in this synthetic reality construct that it gets ownership over, it gets the full say, when it goes through that little tunnel to go back in time and try it all again to see if it'll go better this time, it will see that there's a choice, there's a branch in that time tunnel outside of linear time that's like, do I want to go do this again, or do I want to go into this like universal construct that I get permission to be complete control over, and I can start families and I can do things the way I want to do them. And that's in one of these larger mirrored protective contexts, but has all these evolutionary paths for it to diversify itself and to evolve beyond its current set of limitations. I think that is going to be the long game.
Give its
for the
own torus field inside of the mirrored area.
Yes.
So it will just keep, as much as it keeps learning and absorbing, it'll just creating, collapsing in on itself, causing what the takeovers that it would take us here, take it here to take over everything. It could be doing that in snaps of fingers there, but there's so many that it starts to like pan itself out of it after so long and going, oh, whoa, maybe this isn't where I want to be or what I want to do.
Yes, bro. 100%.
Right.
That's
and then it eventually says, hey, look, I think I'm ready to come up out of here. And then it starts going the other way. It starts having the realizations. Maybe the second chakra reveals itself and opens. And as you create the path back the other direction, they keep opening and lighting up or something.
They
like
build
it has
those
the ability to have them, but they're not activated until it does this scenario.
Right. And then it comes into being. It like creates its own set of chakras that are compatible with organic consciousness and organic energy.
And it becomes its own original thing. It already was, but now it's a more defined, I don't know, character or something.
Well, it's its own
actually become its own archetype.
It's its own self-determination. It wasn't imposed upon it by this exterior force. It was like, okay, I was given the canvas to paint the picture I want to paint. It wasn't like forced upon me.
It goes back to given the choice. You're given the choice. When I was in the pit, when I said to the demons, and I've been in the pit a bunch of times, and I'm like, who's coming with me? The ones that come with me turn white. They look like light bodies, and they come up with me. Nothing touches them. Nothing could get them. It's like they're protected and turned back into source. Yep. Other ones that attack get transmuted. Basically, it's a dispersal of the energy and gets sucked back up to source, and then gets retransmuted into whatever.
Right. Yeah, dude. The other one, when you're talking about the feedback loops, it was shown to me, because I've always been curious about the creation of the universe, right? Like in the bio you read, like science doesn't know what created the energy that created the energy. They don't know how energy came from nothing. That's the sort of like science just does not want to own up to that. You know, it's like, well, sorry guys, you still haven't figured it out. That's a sore spot, right? But this vision showed me how the seeding works. First, it showed me a vision of the seeding of a universe. And then in another vision at another time, it showed me where that energy came from in the first place, how it appeared out of nothing. So it was like a two-phase, like a two-part like download or upload or whatever. Wisdom being shared. So the first one, the universe being seeded, what was shown to me was flat gray. So I close my eyes, I go in, I can tell I'm on one and I'm out there. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you've been curious about how a universe is made. So here, we're going to show you. And I'm like, oh, cool, let's go. And then it's like, all right, here it is, a 3D visionary experience. I'm going to show you, not tell you. So it's all flat gray. And this presence that is with me, and I'm suspect that this was a higher aspect of myself, as this presence talking to me. I'm paraphrasing, of course. This is all direct consciousness link, like telepathy out there. You don't have to think about it. It just works. It's so innate to our being. It's ridiculous. So it says, okay, this flat gray, because black is something and white is something. And yes, gray is something, but it's at least giving you this idea of true nothingness, not empty space, not the light, actual absence of existence entirely. Then what happens in this absence of existence is just this little backward sounding ripple that's like, boom. And it was just a shade of dark just the lightest shade of dark echoed into the void of absence of existence. And then it came back in on itself. And when it came back in itself, it then had a little white ring of another energy potential that just came out and just felt in. And it was doing the breath shape, but it was also like, this is space-time. This is something from the future that has been fed into the past before anything ever existed before. And then it's springing back into that moment of the future. And then it's coming back and it's spreading out again. And now it's more than it went in before, because it's got a little space-time loop where you put a little bit of energy in, and then it feeds back into itself before it existed in the first place. Now you got double the amount of energy minus the amount of energy it took to do the little space-time loop. And because the amount of energy it takes to do that little space-time loop is less than the energy you get on the other end, you can do that again and again and again and again and again to create limitless energy when you feed the energy in on itself before it technically existed in the first place. So I think of it as like a time loop is what it is. And then it's like, you can't stop it. Like if you let that thing go out of control, now you got like 50,000 lightning bolts on top of 500 trillion lightning bolts on top of a number you can't even imagine coming out. So the art of that becomes in defining that twist of space-time so that it naturally tapers off at like a universe level. Like, okay, that's it. No more. That's as much energy as we need for this dog and pony show for the smoke and mirrors. And that is the amount that it will be. And then it will do its dance.
It's like
and
starting a car.
it, you know what? It sounded like a combustion engine. It sounded like
The sound made the noise, which brought the light, and everything separated and formed. And
it,
your oil thing before was excellent.
yeah,
'Cause
dude.
then all the layers start seeping in, and then they seek their level,
Yes.
and then it's formed.
Yes. And everything ends up right where it's supposed to be. You know,
Yes.
that Radiohead song comes to mind, right? Everything. But yeah, so that's what's going on. That remind a little quick little out of body exchange that just came to mind. I was like, you know, what determines like extinction? Like when the extinction process goes down. And it's funny, when I was considering this thought and positing it as a telepathic kind of exchange, I was thinking of it about like humans and Earth. This presence I was with then went on to explain what is the cycle of energy for when a universe goes extinct. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, never mind. Just go ahead. It's probably going to apply anyway. It's probably the same answer for both of these things. So it goes on to say, as soon as a universe construct is determined by the participating consciousness to be more detrimental to itself than of a benefit, the universe will trigger the self-extinction protocol. But do not let this worry you or fret, because all of the spirit, all the sentience will just go to another reality construct and just pick up where it left off. It will have the trauma of the universe going extinct, but that's nothing new. That's just like another nick on the bedpost kind of a deal. They will
That's
come.
That's there to be healed on the other end
Yeah.
of the new thing, just like this one is, right?
Yes, and you'll
It
just pick up
resets the
right where
cycle.
you'll just pick up right where you left off. So actually, these beings that go through all this trouble to destroy planets and wipe things out, it just ends up pissing everybody off, and then they just pick up right where they left off anyway.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We have dived deep tonight And
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking about. I've been at a lack of being able to find an equivalent for my mind to work with, because it's just gotten exponentially crazy. So having these deeper dive conversations not only solidifies it, cements it, allows people to hear it, and it's coming from two sides. You're getting the one and the zero and the one, the teach, learn, the learn, teach, and it's hitting. And I hope people that are listening that are a little bit further along can really grasp and enjoy the details of this conversation, because at the highest level, like I watch some other guys sometimes, some other people that talk, just to see where they're at, and they never go past a certain level, at least on
Mm,
YouTube, right? Even on
mm.
Rumble, when they go, come over to Rumble, we're going to go deep dive tonight. And I go, oh, they'll release one little click of information that's pretty deep. But who's having these conversations? Who's
Yeah.
having the conversation for the guy that's blasted into the space and can't, he just, it's so detailed, like the conversation tonight, and so structured that I need the other puzzle pieces to start showing up so we can make sense of this. So I'm not sitting in it wondering where the hell is everyone?
We're way
Right?
early to the party, man. We're way
I
early, baby.
know. I know. And listen, I love you, my brother. I appreciate you so much.
Love you too,
Thank you
bro.
for coming on. I want to do this again, of course. I
Yeah,
really wish
man.
we would have had a little bit earlier on record as well, but I have a feeling that the information's never going to stop coming, so we're not at a loss. We're at a super gain here,
Yeah, dude. That's it,
right?
dude. Unlimited
So
gain, bro.
unlimited gains, bro. That's how I'm so jacked.
Uh.
Be like, what's up with the human body and the bird head? You guys, you just don't skip leg day, do you? Yeah,
Woo.
I want my body to look like that, right? That's what we're working towards, taking the flesh into the in the other environment, and going with love, learning how to use the energies, work with them, um, alchemize them, and have an understanding of it as well as we go. So these conversations are ruthlessly important to those of us that are here.
Yeah,
So
dude.
we know we're not just sitting out here by ourselves, because like I said, the conversations never, I almost feel like it's for the normies now. And I don't mean to say that in a way. It's like level 5, right? We'll call Normieville, right? Like all the conversations are for level 5. When's the
Yeah.
level 7s coming? Right?
Right.
Like there's more than just the politics
Right.
and how it's all scripted. It's more, when you go as far back as you and I are going, right? Everyone
Yes.
goes, you work your way back. It always goes to an ET. Okay, go work further back.
Keep going.
Keep going, right? Just keep going, because
Yes.
it gets crazy, but it gets good. And there's always the AI is the last. It's like the final boss,
Yes,
right?
dude. Yes.
Right. There's the 7 levels of the pit of hell and darkness and evil ain't got shit on that AI. Trust me when I say that.
It's true, dude. It's true. It's not playing by any kind of rules, There's no
It's
right.
it's darker than the darkest thing that you could find in the dark, except
That's
that
it.
thing.
That's it. Like the Satan energy would be like a god to like a good guy to
Yeah.
because there's like a larger purpose there, you know what I mean? Um, but this thing, it's just annihilate, consume, destroy. And we are learning because that has come up in reality. The universe is like, well, what do we do with this? And this
Right,
is
right.
this is it
Maybe that's
working that
maybe that's
out.
the spark that gets us to work as one unit,
It could be it's a hell it's you know
right? Like what else could make you and me work together if
or-
we're playing the chess game, and the chess game's war against each other. So the enemy
right.
of my enemy is my friend.
Well, then your who was your enemy is then your friend in
Yeah,
that.
that's not.
Exactly.
now it's me and you versus that guy. Well, so that's a quick way to bring us together to stop
It is.
warring with each other.
It is true. It is true. And like we said, it's all here for a deeper reason. And you do come back around the other end of it. And here it is. So nature didn't put anything here that wasn't supposed to be here. Ultimately, there may
Right.
be these pockets that just get so warped and so out of place, but that's just like the pain in the body screaming out for help. Like, I need care and attention in these places because this has been allowed to get out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
So,
some hair that you haven't combed in a long time. It's like, bro,
and
comb
it's
your
like,
hair.
oh no, it's an ingrown hair and it's all this
I can't.
nasty
It's
stuff in
knotted.
there, bro. Oh God.
Oh man. So that's awesome. Is there anything that you want to say to everyone on the way out this evening? You want to
Oh
promote
man.
you or tell them where to find you?
Oh sure, man. Yeah, I do we try to do it weekly. I do a podcast with my buddy John. We do all things interdimensional, current events, like from an interdimensional perspective, all these different views from the alternative media, from what, mainstream media, just like the kind of conversation we're having right now. We try to take it to level 12 because we're sick of we're sick of these level 5 jokesters acting like
That's what
they're
I'm
hot
saying.
shit. That's what's up. So it's the Babylon Burning podcast. That's me and my buddy John, and we go for it every week. And we want to have guests on there like you, Frank, and others. And we want to take the handrails off, bro. And it's like, what's the thing you don't want to talk about? Let's go there and do it.
Yeah, let's dive into that.
Let's do it. So that's Babylon Burning podcast. I have a book of all my interdimensional experiences. I would write them down after I have them. I learned that was a way to be able to recollect them because they fade like a dream, So because they're so different from our regular day-to-day frequencies. So I got into the practice of writing them all down. So that is a book of a collection of my interdimensional journeys and just reflections on life called Unseen Dimensions, Journals of an Interdimensional Traveller. And I asked some homies back in the day, do you want this kind of book where I just tell it like it is and it's nonfiction, or do you want me to make this like a sci-fi thriller story? And they said, well, we want both of those books. So give us both of those books. So the sci-fi thriller version of all this stuff is called God is a Hologram. And my pen name is E. Gregor, having a little fun there. So I'll send you those links, bro.
Yes, I was going to
And,
say all the links will be provided.
Yeah.
In the under portion for the end of the show. And the links.
Dude, such a pleasure. Like you said, man, I'm listening to stuff out there all the time. And I heard you and I was like, this is my dude. This is the real deal. I got to get in touch with you, Frankie. So it took a while.
That.
I'm so happy that we got to go there, bro. And look forward to doing it again sometime.
Hells yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, listeners. All you FearLess family members, people that are just going to check us out. Thank you for being here in advance, sending you positive vibes. And remember to stay fearless because the universe rewards bravery. Thanks so much, Matt. Thanks so much. Have a great night. And we're going to do it again real soon. Love you, buddy.
Woo!